Hey guys, how are you all? I hope you all are doing well. Today we are going to see an amazing what-if story. But before we start, it's just a humble request that if you are new here, please subscribe because it actually motivates me a lot to post more. Also, the stories on my channel are fully written by me, so if you have any suggestions for what-if stories, please let me know below the comment section. Now, without any further delay, let's start. What if Harry Potter became the first wizarding emissary to Digimon world? Protocol null. Harry hit the corner hard enough that his shoulder thudded off the stone, and the air went sharp with dust and ozone. A curse tore past his cheek like a hot wire. He did not look back properly because looking back got you killed. He snapped his wand up on instinct. Protego. The shield flared, then stuttered. For half a second it looked wrong, like a pane of glass that had learned to flicker. The next spell smashed into it and made a noise like metal scraping metal. Not the clean crack he expected. Harry felt his stomach drop. That sound did not belong in the Department of Mysteries. He ran anyway. His boots slapped polished stone. The corridor was too bright for where he was, too clean, like someone had scrubbed the place for a tour. The air smelled of disinfectant and old paper and something faintly electrical, like a wand left too close to a heating charm. Behind him, footsteps hammered in a staggered rhythm. A group trying not to bunch up. They were trained, then. Harry's breath was already ragged. Not from the sprint. From the moment his shield had flickered. He threw himself around another corner and saw the doors ahead, black and identical, the whole place a maze with a sense of humor. He had walked these corridors before, years ago, as a kid who thought bravery meant charging. Now he knew bravery meant picking the door that was not a trap. A voice called out behind him. A man, calm, caring. Harry Potter. Stop. Ministry authority. Harry barked a laugh that came out ugly. You can tell whoever is paying you that I am done doing what the ministry wants. Another voice, closer, sharper. Stun him. Harry did not wait. He spun, fired, stupefy. Red light slammed down the corridor. Someone threw up a shield. Harry's spell splashed and scattered, like it had hit a slick surface. That was wrong too. Stunning spells did not splash. Harry's heart punched his ribs. Sweat ran down his spine under his shirt. Okay, he thought. Okay, not normal. He backed up, wand steady, eyes taking in shapes at the far end of the corridor. 3 Aurors, maybe 4, all in dark coats, not full uniform. One had a scar that looked fresh. One had a jaw like a brick. They were not wearing name badges. Harry's mind did that cold thing it did when it decided survival was the only job. Who are you? He said, and his voice sounded too calm even to him. The brick jaw Auror raised his wand, angle perfect, posture textbook. Stand down, Potter. Funny, Harry said. That is what I am telling you. Behind them, the corridor lights dimmed slightly, like someone had lowered a dial. Or like something was eating the light. Harry did not like that either. He shifted his feet. His shoulder hurt. He could still taste the last spell, copper at the back of his throat. He tried to think of who had sent him here. He had received a summons, official seal, a short note from the department saying there had been disturbances near the Vale. Disturbances, like it had feelings. He had almost laughed when he read it. Then he had not. He did not laugh at the Vale. Croaker asked for me, Harry said. So if you lot want to play games, we can do it where the unspeakables can watch. The man with the fresh scar blinked. Just once. A flicker. Croaker is not here, he said. Harry's mind connected 2 dots and did not like the picture. He heard a door behind him click, soft, like a polite lock settling into place. He glanced over his shoulder and saw one of the black doors had shut by itself. Not slammed. Shut, like the building had decided. Harry turned back, wand still raised. You are not Aurors. Brickjaw smiled without warmth. We are the ministry. Harry's mouth went dry. That is not an answer. The lights dimmed again. The shadows deepened along the floor like spilled ink. Harry forced a slow breath in. He could not apparate down here. Nobody could. But if they were messing with the warding, if they had done something to the place, then normal rules were already out. He hated that. He hated it the way he hated the smell of the graveyard, the way he hated the feeling of a diary that could swallow you. felt like that now. Like the air itself was waiting to bite. Last chance, Brickjaw said. Lower the wand. Harry's answer was a curse. Expelliarmus. It hit Brickjaw's shield, and the same wrong thing happened. The spell did not bounce. It did not disperse. Tore like paper ripping. The shield flashed with a pale grid for a heartbeat, lines and squares, and then the whole thing collapsed. Harry froze half a second too long, because his brain refused to accept what his eyes had just seen. Grid. His disarming charm had shown a grid. Brickjaw's wand flew out of his hand anyway. It spun once in the air and clattered down the corridor. The Auror did not even flinch. He just reached into his coat like he was pulling a pen, and he drew out something small and dark and flat. A disc. Harry stared. It looked like a muggle thing, except it did not. It was too clean. Too precise. Date light. The man with the fresh scar lifted his wand and spoke a word Harry did not recognize. It was not Latin. It was not anything. The sound made Harry's teeth ache. The corridor rippled. Harry's vision went wrong at the edges, pixels blooming, the world breaking into tiny squares that snapped back into stone. Harry swore under his breath. Right, he said. So that is what you are. Brickjaw's smile widened. Target confirmed. Target, Harry repeated, and his voice went cold. That is new. I thought I was an annoying symbol, not a target. He threw up another shield and bolted sideways as a curse slammed where his head had been. The air tasted like burnt plastic now. That made no sense. Burnt plastic did not exist in the Department of Mysteries. Harry ran, but they did not chase him the way normal Aurors would. They herded him. They cut off corridors with spells that felt like doors closing in his head. One moment there was a corridor. The next there was a wall of shimmering darkness. Like the air had decided to refuse him. Harry skidded to a stop, panting. A door ahead opened with a slow, heavy creak, and the sound of whispers spilled out. Harry knew that sound. His grip tightened until his fingers hurt. No, he thought. No, no, no. He had not been here since he was a teenager. Since Sirius. He backed up, but the corridor behind him now looked longer than it should. The shadows were thicker. The lights were dimmer. The air was colder. He heard footsteps closing in. Brickjaw's voice drifted down the corridor like a threat wrapped in politeness. In you go. Harry's lungs burned. He tasted bile. He could fight them. He could drop them. But his spells were behaving wrong, and they had that disc, and the corridor itself was shifting. He did not trust the building anymore, and he did not trust them. He stepped into the room because there was no other move. The veil chamber was the same and not the same. The stone dais sat in the center, the arch rising like a ribcage, the hanging curtain moving though there was no wind. The whispers poured out of it, soft and constant, like a crowd behind a wall. But the air around it looked glitchy. Harry's brain supplied the word without permission. Glitchy. The space near the veil shimmered in tiny squares that came and went. Like the world was buffering. Harry swallowed hard. Potter, the man with the fresh scar said, stepping in behind him. You are going to cooperate. Harry turned, wand up. Or what? You push me through and pretend I tripped. Brickjaw stepped into the room too, calm as anything. He had picked his wand back up. We do not pretend. Harry's eyes flicked to the disc in Brickjaw's other hand. Who sent you? Harry asked. Tell me who, and you might still walk out. Brickjaw shrugged. You know who. Harry's scar did not itch anymore. He did not have one. But something in him still reacted, a deep old reflex. You are lying, Harry said, voice flat. The fresh scar man moved his wand in a tight motion, and a net of dark light whipped out. Not a rope, not chains. Something that looked like a spell and felt like wrongness. Harry threw himself aside. The net clipped his shoulder. Cold tore through him like ice water, and his arm went numb down to the fingers. He hissed and stumbled. Do not, Brickjaw said, like he was talking to a child. Make this messy. Harry's teeth bared. Too late. He fired a rapid chain of spells because he did not have time to be clever. Stupefy, stupefy, confringo, red, red, then a burst of heat. The explosions in the veil chamber were muffled, swallowed by stone that had seen worse. The Aurors raised shields, but the shields flickered with that pale grid again, the lines snapping into place like a protective screen. Harry's spells hit and spread, not like magic, like code hitting a firewall. Harry felt the world tilt. Brickjaw spoke that wrong language again. Harry's stomach lurched. His wand arm shook. The air between Harry and the oars filled with a thin, invisible pressure, like walking into a strong wind. Harry took one step and realized his boots were sliding. The floor was moving. No, not moving. It was being pulled. His eyes snapped to the veil. The curtain was still whispering, still swaying. But now the space around it was sucking at the room, a tide dragging everything towards it. Harry's breath caught. "What did you do?" Brickjaw did not answer. He just lifted the disc, and it pulsed with a faint, colorless glow. The pull increased. Harry dug his heels into the stone, muscles straining. His numb arm tingled painfully, pins and needles, like his body was trying to reboot it. The fresh scar man stepped closer, wand pointed at Harry's chest. "You are not supposed to be here anymore, Potter," Harry barked. "I am literally not supposed to be here right now." The man's eyes were empty. Exactly. That was the moment Harry understood it was not about arresting him. It was about removing him. Harry's mind flashed through names, through politics, through the way people smiled at him in the ministry halls and then looked away when they thought he would not notice. The hero they could not control. The living reminder. The man who knew where too many bodies were buried. He had told himself it was paranoia. He should have listened to his paranoia. Harry made a choice. He stopped fighting the pull. He stepped into it. The Auror's eyes widened. "No!" Harry lunged forward, not at them, at the arch. He grabbed the cold stone edge of the dais, fingers scraping, nails catching. The whispers slammed into his ears, loud now, almost words, almost voices he recognized. He heard Sirius laugh, faint and cruel. He heard his mother scream. He heard Voldemort hiss. He heard Ron swearing and Hermione saying his name like it was a scolding and a prayer. Harry's throat tightened. He did not let go. Brickjaw swore under his breath, and that was the first human sound he had made. The disc pulsed again. The pull became a shove. Harry's fingers slipped. He saw the curtain ripple like water. He saw the space behind it open in a way that made his brain panic, because it was not space, it was absence. He looked back once and locked eyes with Brickjaw. "You will regret this," Harry said, and he meant it. Brickjaw's expression did not change. "We already did." Then Harry fell. The cold hit first. Not normal cold. The kind that made your thoughts stutter. His body stretched. His limbs felt too long, then too short, then not there at all. He tried to breathe and his lungs did not find air. He tried to scream and the sound broke into static. The whispers turned into noise. Not voices. Data. Harry's brain supplied the word again. Like it had decided this was the only way to survive. Data. He saw light, then darkness, then a field of tiny squares, each square a piece of something. He saw his own hands as pixel blocks, his wand as a thin white line. He tried to hold onto the wand and his fingers flickered. A pulse went through him, a sensation like his skeleton had been replaced with wires. He tasted blood, and then the taste turned into something like hot metal. He heard a noise, far away, a dull electronic hum, like a city at night. Harry tried to reach for magic, for the familiar pull, the internal muscle he had trained since he was 11. Magic answered, but it answered wrong. It came with a faint chirp, a tiny, impossible sound. A beep. Harry's eyes snapped open into a world that did not make sense. He slammed down onto something hard and uneven, rolling onto his side. Pain shot through his ribs. He coughed and tasted grit. He lay there for a second, trying to figure out if he was dead. The air smelled like rust and smoke and something burned that was not wood. He could hear distant machinery, a low rumble, and somewhere a high-pitched whine like an angry mosquito. Harry pushed himself up on his good arm. His other arm still tingled from the net spell. His fingers shook. The ground under him was not stone. It was metal and cracked plastic and broken glass. Bits of it shifted and clinked under his palms. He looked down and saw the debris was layered, as if someone had piled 1,000 broken things into a hill. Trash. A mountain of trash. Harry lifted his head. The sky above was gray and wrong, streaked with static, like rain made of interference. Far off, a horizon glowed with a faint neon haze. The shapes of towers rose in the distance, but they looked jagged, patched together. Some flickered at the edges. Harry's breath came out in a hard laugh that turned into a cough. "Of course," he said hoarsely. "Of course this is where I land." His wand was still in his hand. That was something. Harry tried to stand. His boots slid on scrap and he had to brace himself. Every movement made debris shift and slide, a constant clattering like 1,000 tiny bones. He wiped his mouth with the back of his hand and stared around. He saw twisted metal beams, shattered screens, broken cables like dead snakes. He saw the remains of something that might have been a car, except it had too many angles. He saw a doll head with blank eyes half buried in the trash, staring at him. Harry's skin crawled. He forced himself to breathe slowly. Not as a device, as survival. Okay, new world, he thought. Not dead, probably. Find high ground. Find shelter. Find threats. Threats arrived immediately. A sharp crack echoed across the trash mountain. Not thunder. Not a spell. A gunshot. Harry froze. Another crack. Then a burst. Rapid. Like someone had decided to rip the air apart in short bites. Harry's head snapped towards the sound. Shapes moved on the slope below, climbing fast. Not human shapes. Stocky, compact, wearing gear. Their eyes glowed a faint red under helmets. Harry's stomach dropped again. They looked like little soldiers. One of them pointed. Harry could not hear what it said, but the gesture was clear. Target. Harry's hands tightened on his wand. He had dealt with Death Eaters. He had dealt with monsters. He had dealt with things that wanted to kill him for what he was. He could deal with little soldiers. Then the first bullet hit the scrap near his foot and exploded sparks into the air. Harry flinched. The sound was brutal, physical, different from a curse. Punched the air, made his ears ring. He threw up his shield. Protego. Flared, then flickered again, that same wrong shiver. The bullets hit and did not bounce. They sparked, then seemed to smear against the shield like someone dragging a finger through wet paint. Harry's eyes widened. The shield held, but it felt strained in a new way. Like it was doing more than blocking. Like it was processing. A bullet hit the shield and made a noise like a notification chime. Harry swallowed hard. "What is this?" he muttered. The soldiers were climbing faster now, boots digging into scrap. One of them lifted a weapon that looked too big for its body and fired again. Harry's shield shook. He needed to move. He turned and ran along the ridge, boots slipping, scrap sliding. He kept his shield angled behind him as he ran, catching bullets that sparked and smeared and made those little electronic chimes. This was insane. Harry's ribs ached. His lungs burned. His mouth tasted like metal and dust. He spotted a gap in the trash, a dark hollow where broken metal formed a crude tunnel. He dove for it, sliding on his side, scraping his elbow hard. Pain flared. He hissed but kept moving, dragging himself into the hollow. The space inside smelled worse. Oil rot, heat. The air was warmer here, thick, like breathing through cloth. Harry killed his shield and listened. Footsteps, tiny but heavy. Gear clinking. A mechanical whir. A voice, tinny, distorted, not English. It sounded like a bark and a crackle at once. Then another voice answered. Harry held his breath. A red light swept across the entrance to the hollow. Like a search beam, Harry's muscles went tight. He forced himself to shift deeper into the shadows, pressing his back against cold metal. He kept his wand up. The red light swept again. The soldiers were right outside. Harry felt a familiar old anger rise, hot and sharp. He had spent too many years being hunted. He was tired of it. When the first soldier stepped into the hollow, Harry moved. Expelliarmus. The spell hit the weapon in the soldier's hands. The weapon did not fly away like a normal wand would. It flickered. The surface of it broke into tiny squares. Then the whole thing dissolved into glittering fragments that vanished. The soldier stared at its empty hands. Harry stared too. His disarming charm had just made a gun vanish like it was a bad hologram. The soldier's helmet turned towards Harry, and its eyes flared brighter. It lifted its hands and drew another weapon from its back with a jerky motion, like pulling a file from storage. Harry did not wait. Stupefy. The red spell hit the soldier square in the chest. The soldier convulsed, but not like a human. It glitched. Its outline flickered. For a second it looked like a broken image. Then it dropped, body going limp, not bleeding, but sparking. A soft crackle as if its insides were wires. Harry's stomach churned. It was not human. That was a relief, and also worse. Another soldier shoved into the hollow, saw its fallen comrade, and screamed something that made Harry's teeth ache. It raised its weapon. Harry fired a cutting curse on instinct, but stopped himself halfway through, because he did not know what cutting meant here, and he did not need to find out in his own flesh. He switched. Confringo. The explosion hit the entrance, blasting scrap outward. The hollow shook. Metal screamed. The soldiers outside scattered, their boots clattering. Harry used the moment to scramble out through a side gap, climbing over a pile of broken panels that sliced at his palms. He rolled onto open scrap again, lungs heaving. He could hear the soldiers regrouping behind him. More voices, more movement. He glanced up and saw, further down the slope, a line of them forming like a unit. They moved with discipline. Harry's mind catalogued them. Small, armored, military. He needed a better plan than running. He lifted his wand and aimed at the scrap pile above them. Depulso. The spell hit the heap. The scrap shuddered, then slid. Then the whole section collapsed in a roaring cascade. Metal and plastic and glass poured down like an avalanche. The soldiers tried to move, but the debris swallowed them. Some were crushed. Some flickered and vanished as if their bodies could not handle the impact. Harry's stomach lurched again. He did not have time to feel guilty. They had shot at him. He ran. He ran until his lungs burned and his legs shook. He ran until he hit a ridge where the trash dipped into a shallow valley. And there, below, he saw something that made him stop. A smaller figure, not in armor, was on its knees in the scrap. It looked like an animal vaguely, but with strange markings, sharp ears, and a long tail. It was trying to crawl away. Behind it, two of the soldier creatures had survived the avalanche and were stalking towards it, weapons raised. Harry's throat went tight. The smaller creature looked up. Its eyes were wide and terrified. The soldiers fired. The bullets hit the creature in the side. Cried out, a raw sound that did not need translation. Collapsed, shaking. One of the soldiers walked closer and raised its weapon again, slow, methodical. Execution. Harry moved without thinking. Protego. The shield slammed into place between the soldier and the wounded creature. The bullets hit and smeared. The electronic chime noise returned. Harry stepped into view, wand raised. The soldiers turned towards him as one. Harry's voice came out low and flat. No, the soldiers did not answer in words he understood. They simply raised their weapons. Harry swore because apparently his life was just a long chain of people trying to murder him. He fired. Expelliarmus. Stupefy. Expelliarmus. Two weapons flickered out. One soldier convulsed and dropped, sparking. The other stumbled back, then fired anyway, bullets chewing into Harry's shield. Harry gritted his teeth. Sweat ran into his eyes. He pushed forward, shield first, like he had done as a kid in the corridor at Hogwarts. But now the sound was bullets and the smell was burning plastic. He got close enough to see the soldier's face behind its helmet. It was not a face. It was a snout, metallic, with a grim set to it like a toy built for war. Harry's brain, unhelpful, supplied another word. Command Ramon. He did not know how he knew that. He just did. The Command Ramon shouted and tried to swing the weapon like a club. Harry ducked and slammed his shoulder into its chest. Felt like hitting a machine. Pain shot through Harry's shoulder. His injured arm went numb again. He hissed and staggered back. The Command Ramon lifted its weapon. Harry aimed at its legs. Petrificus totalis. The spell hit. The Command Ramon locked up, stiffening. Then its body flickered hard, like the spell did not know what to do with it. For a second the creature froze, then it snapped back, but its movements were sluggish now, like the system had lagged. Harry used the opening. He fired a stunning spell again, close range. The command remote jerked, glitched, and dropped. Harry stood there panting, chest heaving, wand still raised. The wounded creature behind him made a soft noise, like a whimper. Harry turned slowly. It was smaller than he had thought. Yellow fur with blue stripes, a head too big for its body, but not in a cartoonish way, more like it had grown wrong. Its claws dug into the scrap as it tried to push itself up, then failed. Blood, actual blood, dark and sticky, seeped from the bullet holes. Harry swallowed. So they bled. Good. Real. Not just code. The creature's eyes were locked on Harry's wand. His body trembled. It tried to bare its teeth, but the movement was weak. Harry crouched slowly, careful. He kept his wand low, not pointing. "I am not going to shoot you," Harry said, then realized how stupid that sounded in a world where he had just watched guns shoot at people. He tried again. "I am not going to hurt you." The creature made a sound, harsh, like a warning. He tried to scramble back, but the motion made it hiss in pain. Harry's stomach clenched. He had seen pain like that too many times. On Ron, on Hermione, on himself. He glanced up, scanning the trash valley. No more soldiers in immediate sight. The unit might regroup. He did not have long. He looked back at the creature. He could walk away. He could leave it. Survival, right? Harry exhaled. He was tired of surviving like a coward. Harry shifted closer, slow, palms open, wand still in his right hand. "Okay," he said softly. "Okay, I am going to help. If you bite me, I will probably deserve it." The creature's eyes narrowed. Harry reached into his pocket with his left hand and winced at the numb ache. He fumbled for a small vial. Essence of Dittany. Old habit. You carried it when you had lived through war. He held it up so the creature could see, then tilted it, letting a drop fall onto his own scraped palm. The cut sealed, skin knitting. The creature blinked. That got its attention. Harry's voice stayed low. "See. Help." He moved closer. The creature tensed, then lashed out with a weak swipe. Claws scraped Harry's forearm. Blood welled. Harry did not pull back fast. He just hissed through his teeth. "Yeah," he muttered. "Fair." He tipped Dittany onto his own scratch first, sealing it, then angled the vial towards the creature's wounds. The creature jerked, panic flaring. Harry stopped immediately. All right, I will not touch you. Tell me how to do it. Or just..." He swallowed. "Just let me try." The creature stared at him like it was trying to decide if he was a trap. Harry's mind flashed to the ministry corridor, to the grid in the shields, to the pull of the veil. Maybe he was a trap. Maybe he was the problem. Harry forced the thought down. He could only do what he could do. He inched forward again, then carefully poured a small amount of Dittany onto the wound without letting the vial touch fur. The liquid soaked in. For a second nothing happened. Then the creature's flesh knitted slightly. Not fully, but enough that the bleeding slowed. The creature shuddered. A sharp breath like it had been holding pain in its teeth and could finally let a little go. Harry let out a breath he had not realized he was holding. "There," he said. "That is something." The creature's eyes stayed hard, but the immediate panic eased. Tried to push itself up again. Failed. Then tried again with a low growl. Harry shifted to support it instinctively, then stopped himself, remembering claws. He stayed close without touching. The creature finally managed to sit upright, hunched. His tail twitched. Harry's voice came out quietly. "I do not know where I am." The creature's ears flicked. Harry pointed vaguely at the sky, the trash, the distant neon haze. "This is not my world." The creature made a sound, low. Then it spoke. Not in English. The words hit Harry's ears as noise, but his brain snagged on patterns. It felt like trying to listen to a radio through static. Harry frowned. The creature spoke again. Sharper, like it thought he was pretending. Harry shook his head. "I cannot understand you." The creature stared at him, then at his wand. Said something again, slower. Harry's mind caught one sound. A name maybe, and his mouth repeated it without meaning to. "Doraemon." The creature froze. Harry froze too. He did not know why he had said that. Doraemon's eyes widened slightly. It leaned forward, sniffing the air, then sniffing Harry. The motion made it wince, but it did it anyway. Harry held still. His heart hammered. Doraemon's nose wrinkled. It made a sound that could have been disgust or fear. Harry tried not to take offense. Doraemon spoke again, and this time Harry's head hurt. A sharp pressure behind his eyes, like someone was pressing fingers into his skull. Harry's wand hand tightened. "Stop!" he snapped, then softened. "Please, that hurts." Doraemon's eyes narrowed. Then it looked away, like it had not meant to do that, or like it did not care. Harry swallowed. "Okay, great. Telepathy. Of course." Doraemon blinked at him, then spoke again. Slower. Harry's brain still did not translate words, but images flickered in his mind, broken and fast. A city of neon and metal. A wide digital sea of darkness. Soldiers marching. A symbol, a crest, something like a winged shape. A giant figure behind a curtain of code. And then a pulse of cold. Harry's own fall through the veil, replayed in his head as if Doraemon had seen it. Harry staggered slightly. "You saw that." Doraemon's tail flicked. It made a sound like a snort. Harry rubbed his forehead with his free hand. All right, I am Harry." He pointed to himself. "Harry." Doraemon stared. Harry tried again. "Harry Potter." Doraemon's ears twitched. It repeated something that sounded like Harry, as if tasting the sound. That was progress. Harry nodded. "Yes, Harry." He pointed to Doraemon. "Doraemon." Doraemon's eyes narrowed. Then it dipped its head a fraction, like acknowledging. Harry exhaled. He glanced up again, scanning the slope. The soldiers were not visible now, but he could hear distant movement, faint clattering, maybe more units. Harry's nerves crawled. "We need to move," he said. Doraemon's eyes sharpened. It looked in the direction Harry had looked. It growled low, then tried to stand. It got its feet under it, shaky, then immediately swayed. Harry moved close, hand half reaching, then stopped. He did not want to get his fingers bitten off. "Can you walk?" Harry asked. Doraemon bared its teeth, then took a step. His claws slid on scrap. It hissed and forced itself forward. Stubborn, then. Harry recognized that. Harry moved ahead, picking a path down the trash slope that would not shift under their weight. Every few steps he glanced back, checking Doraemon was still there, still upright. Doraemon limped behind him, tail twitching with irritation. They reached a lower ridge where the trash formed a narrow corridor between two heaps. The space was tight, walls of scrap rising on either side like cliffs. The air was warmer here, trapped. Harry could hear the buzzing of cables overhead, sparks snapping occasionally. He did not like being boxed in, but being visible on the open slope was worse. He kept his wand up. Doraemon's ears flicked back and forth, listening. Harry spoke quietly, mostly to keep himself grounded. "Those soldiers, they are not human." Doraemon made a harsh sound, like that was obvious. Harry glanced back. "They tried to kill you." Doraemon's eyes went flat. It projected another flicker of images into Harry's mind. Not clear, not full sentences, but enough. Patrol, trash mountain, hunting, a smaller Digimon running, a gunshot, a body sparking out. Then another image, more personal. Doraemon, younger maybe, cornered. A mark on its forehead glowing faintly. Soldiers surrounding it. A voice from above, cold, declaring it an anomaly. Harry's mouth went dry. Anomaly, target, glitch. He knew those words now. He swallowed. "They call you a problem." Doraemon's jaw clenched. Harry's mind flashed to his own life. The prophecy, the scar, the way people looked at him like he was a weapon. He did not say it out loud. He did not need to. The similarity sat between them like a weight. They moved deeper into the scrap corridor. The path opened into a wider area. A broken plaza made of cracked tiles and old metal. A few dead signs hung on bent poles, letters flickering. Harry could not read them. They were not letters. They were symbols that shifted if he stared too long. A ruined structure rose at the far end, like a half-collapsed building. The inside was dark. Harry hesitated. 2 or 3 sentences of description, he reminded himself, and then move. The plaza was littered with shattered screens and twisted frames. The building ahead looked like it had been torn open from the inside, edges jagged. The static rain made everything shine faintly, like the world was always sweating. Harry glanced at Doraemon. Shelter. Doraemon's ears flattened. It did not like it either, but it moved first, limping towards the ruin. Harry followed, wand up, shoulders tight. Inside, the air changed. Less wind. More heat. The smell of oil and old smoke was stronger. Harry could hear, faintly, something like breathing. He froze. Doraemon froze too, then growled low. Harry's eyes adjusted. In the corner, half hidden behind a pile of scrap, something lay crumpled. It was another creature, larger than Doraemon but not massive. Its body was made of metal plates and cords. Its eyes were dim. Dead, Harry thought. Then it moved. A shudder. Harry's grip tightened. The creature lifted its head slowly, and its eyes flared red. It was one of the soldiers. Commandramon, damaged, armor cracked, one leg twisted wrong. It stared at them, weapon missing. It opened its mouth and spoke, voice distorted, mechanical, still not English. Then it reached into its own chest plate, and Harry saw something glow. A signal. Harry's stomach dropped. Doraemon snarled and lunged, claws flashing. Harry moved at the same time. Stupefy. His spell hit the Commandramon in the head. The creature's body flickered, then locked, then spasmed as if the spell and its system were fighting over control. Doraemon slammed into it anyway, claws raking across metal, sparks flying. The Commandramon convulsed, then went limp, eyes dimming. Doraemon stood over it, panting hard, body trembling with effort and pain. Harry's lungs burned. He had not even run. He could still feel adrenaline like acid in his veins. He stepped closer, careful, eyes on the Commandramon's chest. The glowing signal was still pulsing, faint but steady. Harry swore under his breath. It called them. Doraemon's eyes snapped to Harry, projected a single clear feeling into Harry's mind. Danger. Yes. Harry agreed. Understatement. Harry aimed his wand at the glowing piece. He tried a simple cutting charm, but remembered his earlier hesitation. Instead he used something blunt. Reducto. The spell hit the chest plate. Metal shattered. Sparks flew. The glowing piece cracked and went dark. Harry exhaled sharply. Doraemon sagged slightly, then snapped back upright, pride forcing its posture. Harry looked around the ruin again. They were not alone. There was another sound now outside, faint but distinct. Boots on scrap. Many boots. Harry's spine went cold. He moved to the broken opening of the ruin and peered out. Across the plaza, shapes moved in formation, climbing over debris. A larger figure walked among them, taller than the others, built like a tank. Its eyes glowed a deeper red. Its weapon was massive. Harry's mind supplied another name, and this time it came with the taste of fear. Darkdraman. He did not know how he knew it. He just did. Harry's throat went tight. He backed away from the opening and looked at Doraemon. Doraemon's ears were flat. Its eyes were sharp and angry and scared. Harry spoke fast, voice low. Can you run? Doraemon bared its teeth like it wanted to bite the question. Then it took one step and its injured side made it flinch. Not fast enough. Harry's mind moved, calculating. He could fight a unit, maybe. He could fight that thing, maybe not. Not here, not boxed in, not with Doraemon injured. He needed something else. He needed to disappear. He glanced up at the ceiling of the ruin. Broken beams, hanging cables, a half-collapsed floor above. He could bring it down. Harry looked at Doraemon. Stay close, he said. Doraemon blinked, not understanding the words but catching the urgency. Harry moved to the central support beam, planted his feet, and aimed his wand. Confringo. The explosion blew the beam apart. The upper floor shuddered. Another confringo. The whole structure groaned. Dust and debris rained down. Harry grabbed Doraemon by the scruff before he could think about claws. Doraemon yelped and snapped, teeth scraping Harry's sleeve. But Harry hauled it towards a side gap as the ruin began to collapse. Metal screamed. Harry shoved Doraemon through the gap first, then dove after, rolling hard onto scrap as the building behind them caved in with a roar. Debris crashed down. sealing the main entrance in a wall of metal and shattered panels. Harry lay there for a second, chest heaving, ears ringing. Doraemon struggled out from under Harry's arm, snarling, but it did not attack. It stared at Harry with wide eyes, then at the collapsed ruin. The soldiers outside shouted, voices distorted and furious. Harry pushed himself up, ignoring the pain in his ribs. His left forearm was bleeding where Doraemon's claws had scraped him earlier. His right shoulder ached. His injured arm still tingled. He swallowed down nausea. He looked at Doraemon. "We are running," he said. Doraemon stared, then jerked its head in the direction away from the plaza, like it already knew the path. Good. They moved. They slipped through narrow gaps, climbed over scrap ridges, ducked under hanging cables that snapped sparks too close to Harry's hair. Harry kept his wand ready, listening for pursuit. Every few minutes he glanced back. The soldiers were not visible, but he could hear distant movement. Heavy steps, the occasional crack of gunfire, maybe testing, maybe signaling. Harry's mind kept turning over the wrongness of his magic. The grid shields, the way spells smeared, the way disarming made weapons dissolve. He did not have time to solve it now, but he stored it, because if he survived the next hour, he would need answers. They reached another ridge, and beyond it the land dipped, and Harry saw the distant city again. Terminal City, his mind whispered, like the name was buried in him. The skyline was jagged, neon flickers cutting through static rain. Massive screens glowed in the distance. Somewhere a siren wailed, a long mechanical howl. Harry's breath caught. It was a city, yes, but it did not feel safe. Harry crouched behind a heap of broken metal and pulled Doraemon down with him. Doraemon resisted, then complied, panting hard. Harry whispered, "Do you have somewhere?" Doraemon stared at him, then projected another flicker of images. A narrow alley lit by red signs. A doorway hidden behind hanging wires. A small space with a light, warm, and a sense of secrecy. A hideout. Harry nodded. Okay. He glanced up at the sky again. Static rain streaked down, but the clouds above were not clouds. They were a shifting field like a screen. Harry felt the hair on his arms rise. The sky flickered. A line of pale symbols flashed across it. Harry's stomach dropped as his brain, uninvited, translated meaning without translating words. Unauthorized entity detected. Then another line. Purge protocol initializing. Harry's mouth went dry. Doraemon's head snapped up. His eyes widened. It made a sharp sound. Fear and anger mixed. The symbols in the sky pulsed once, like a heartbeat. And somewhere in the distance, deep in Terminal City, an alarm changed pitch, rising higher, more urgent. Harry's grip tightened on his wand until his knuckles hurt. He looked at Doraemon. Doraemon looked back, breathing hard, eyes bright. Harry forced a tight, bitter smile that did not reach his eyes. "Right," he said softly. "So the whole world wants me dead now." Doraemon snarled, as if agreeing, and as if daring the world to try. They moved towards the city as the sky kept pulsing with that cold warning. And behind them, in the trash hills, the distant gunfire started again. Harry did not sleep. He tried, for about 30 seconds, pressed into a narrow gap between two stacked heaps of scrap while Doraemon lay on its side, breathing hard like every inhale scraped. Then the sirens in the distance changed pitch again, and the sky pulsed that cold warning, and Harry gave up on the idea. He stayed crouched with his wand in his hand, listening to a city he could not read. The static rain made everything shine. It was not water. It felt like fine grit in the air, like walking through a bad spell. It coated his hair and his eyelashes. It made his skin itch. Doraemon's eyes were open, bright, watching Harry like Harry was a threat that had not decided what it was yet. Harry kept his voice low. "I am not leaving you." Doraemon's tail twitched. It did not look grateful. It looked annoyed he had said it at all. That was fair. Gratitude got you killed too. Harry glanced up at the thin slice of sky visible between scrap cliffs. The warning symbols had faded for now, but the feeling stayed, like someone had noticed him and had not looked away. He forced himself to focus on the practical. Doraemon was bleeding less, but it was still injured. Harry had only so much, didn't he? They needed shelter and information in that order. He shifted closer, careful. I need you to show me the place from your head. The hideout. The alley. Whatever it is. Doraemon's ears flattened. It made a small sound in its throat, like the closest it could get to a laugh. Then the pressure hit Harry's skull again. Not as sharp as before, but enough to make him flinch. Images spilled into his mind in broken cuts. A narrow street with red light. Signs that flickered. A doorway hidden behind hanging wires that looked like vines. A smell of warm air and old machines. A space where nobody looked too closely. Then a hard flash of something else. Command Ramon units marching. Darkdramon's silhouette, taller than the rest, moving like a nightmare that owned the road. A line of soldiers kneeling. A small Digimon dragged by its tail. Harry's jaw clenched. Doraemon's eyes held his, like it was daring him to stay. Harry nodded once. All right, we move. Doraemon pushed itself up, shaking. Tried to stand straight, failed, swore in its own language, and forced itself to stand anyway. Harry saw the tremor in its legs. He did not comment. Commenting made pride bite back. He slipped forward first, wand raised, scanning. The alleyways between scrap heaps opened into a wider path that led downhill. And beyond that the glow of Terminal City painted the static rain in sick neon. 2 sentences of description, he reminded himself. He kept it tight in his head. Terminal City looked like someone had built a metropolis out of broken screens and bad decisions. Neon signs hung crooked, cables sagged overhead, and distant towers flickered at their edges like they were not fully there. Harry felt his stomach tighten. He had walked into plenty of cities that wanted him dead. This one felt like the city itself had teeth. They moved fast, not running, because running made you obvious. Harry kept them in shadow whenever he could, cutting across narrow lanes and ducking under hanging cables that snapped faint sparks. Doraemon limped but kept pace, breathing hard through its teeth. Harry's ribs still hurt from the fall. Every time he inhaled too deep, it reminded him he was not invincible. He tasted metal at the back of his throat, the way he always did after a fight. A low rumble rolled through the streets ahead. Harry froze. Doraemon froze with him, ears angling forward. The rumble became a chant, not words, a repeating pattern broadcast from somewhere. A loudspeaker voice followed, distorted and metallic, spilling language Harry could not understand. The whole street answered with movement. Doors slammed, lights dimmed. Figures on the sidewalks vanished into alleys like someone had snapped their fingers. Curfew, Harry thought. Doraemon nudged him hard. A sharp shove, then jerked its head toward a side passage. Harry did not argue. He followed. They slipped into a narrow alley that stank of oil and heat. A broken fan above them turned with a slow squeal. Doraemon pressed itself behind a stack of crates that looked like old server boxes. Harry crouched beside it, close enough to protect, not close enough to provoke. Footsteps passed at the alley mouth. Heavy. Many. Boots on metal. A red beam swept across the ground, paused, then moved on. Harry held his breath until his lungs burned. When the steps faded, he exhaled slowly and looked at Doraemon. Doraemon's eyes were half-lidded now, pain cutting into its focus. Harry's voice came out rough. If you collapse, we are both finished. Doraemon made a sharp sound that could have meant agree, could have meant shut up. Harry reached into his pocket and pulled out the small black stone. The resurrection stone felt colder than it should. It always had. He had hated it from the moment he understood what it could do, because it was not comfort. It was a hook. He had not planned to ever use it again. But he had also not planned to fall through the veil into a world made of static and guns. Harry turned it in his fingers, then glanced at Doraemon. This is going to look strange. Doraemon stared at the stone like it was a threat. Harry could not blame it. He held the stone in his left hand, wand in his right, and whispered, "All right, do something useful for once." Nothing happened at first. Then the air shifted, subtle, like the alley had gained depth. The sound of the city behind the wall became clearer, layered, like multiple channels overlapping. Harry's skin prickled. He heard a voice that was almost English, like someone speaking through water. Not a ghost, not a person, something like an echo of the system itself. Harry swallowed hard and focused. Translate. The stone pulsed faintly. The alley filled with whispers. Not the Veil's whispers. Not the Ministry's dead voices. These were thin and digital, like the memory of speech recorded and replayed until the edges wore down. Harry's head throbbed. A line of symbols on a cracked sign across the alley snapped into meaning in his mind. Not as letters, but as intent. Curfew active sector lockdown report anomalies. Harry stared. Doraemon made a low sound. Suspicious. Harry nodded once. Grim. Okay, that helps. Another pulse from the stone, and the loudspeaker voice from earlier resolved into something Harry could almost follow. It was warning of contamination. It was calling for units. It was naming a target. Unauthorized entity. Harry's stomach turned. He tightened his grip on the stone until his knuckles ached. Right? So they are announcing me. Doraemon's tail flicked. The pressure behind Harry's eyes spiked, and a sharp image flashed in his mind. A map rough like a mental sketch. A line leading deeper into the city, away from open patrol routes. Harry nodded. Fine. Led. They moved again, keeping to alleys. Harry used the stone in short bursts, because every time he held it open, it scraped at his skull and dragged the wrong kind of memories close. He could feel his own past stirring, like it was annoyed at being poked. They passed a narrow street where a group of Digimon huddled under a broken awning. Most looked small, scavenger types, built from mismatched parts. None of them made eye contact. They stared at Harry's wand and then looked away fast, like wand meant trouble. Harry did not blame them either. Doraemon's steps faltered. Caught itself, but the effort made its breath hitch. Harry stopped in a deeper shadow, pressed his back to a wall that vibrated faintly with power running through cables. He looked at Doraemon. Sit. Doraemon snarled, but it sat anyway, shoulders hunched. Harry pulled out the Ditany again, then hesitated. Doraemon's eyes narrowed. His claws flexed. Harry held the vial up where it could see. I am not touching your face. I am not doing anything stupid. I just need you to stop bleeding internally. Doraemon stared at the vial. Then it turned its head slightly, exposing the injured side, grudging as anything. Harry exhaled. He poured a careful line of Ditany onto the wound, watching the skin knit a little more. Not healed. Not enough. But better. Doraemon shuddered, then steadied. Its eyes stayed sharp, but its breathing eased. Harry capped the vial and shoved it back into his pocket like it was contraband. Doraemon spoke, low and rough. Harry did not understand the words, but the tone was clear. Harry rubbed his forehead. Because I am stupid. Doraemon's eyes narrowed further. Harry tried again. Because I have done the other option too many times, and it does not make me feel clever. For a second Doraemon just stared, like it was trying to decide if that was weakness or honesty. Harry stood. Come on. They cut through another alley and emerged into a wider street. 3 sentences of description maximum and then move. The street was lined with shops built into broken building shells. Signs flickered in shifting symbols. A few screens played looped adverts with faces that glitched at the edges. The air smelled like hot circuitry and cheap fried oil. Harry's stomach rumbled, and he ignored it. A small figure sat on an overturned crate near a stall made of scrap metal sheets. It had a round body, small arms, and a helmet that looked like a rusted bucket. His eyes were wary. Junkmon, Harry's mind supplied, like the name was being pasted into his brain by the same force that had named Darkgerman. Harry did not like how much his brain knew without asking. Junkmon watched them approach and made a warning noise, low and sharp. Doraemon bristled. Harry lifted his free hand, palm open. Not here to cause trouble. Junkmon stared at his hand like it was a strange object, then spoke in its own language. Harry flipped the stone in his palm, felt the cold pulse, and let it open just enough. The words clicked into rough meaning, not perfect. Curfew. Patrols. Outsiders die. Harry nodded. Yeah, I noticed. Junkman's eyes flicked to Harry's wand, then to Doraemon's wound. Said something again, quicker. The stone gave Harry the gist. Doraemon is marked. You are marked. Leave. Harry leaned in slightly, keeping his voice quiet. I need somewhere that is not a street. I need to know what is hunting us. And I need to know what that thing in the sky is. Junkmon snorted, unimpressed. It answered, and the stone translated in fragments. Sky is system. System is angry. Darkdraman is D Brigade. D Brigade cleans trash. Harry's jaw tightened. By killing people. Junkmon shrugged in a way that said people were a luxury word. Harry swallowed irritation. He needed cooperation, not moral victory. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a galleon, then thought better of it. Gold meant nothing here. He looked at the scrap around them, then at his own wand. Transfiguration had rules. Gamp's law had rules. But this world was already breaking rules. He picked up a broken metal strip and flicked his wand. It twisted, condensed, reshaped into a clean little ingot that looked like pure copper, warm in his palm. The ingot's edges shimmered faintly, as if it was not sure it was allowed to exist. Harry placed it on the crate near Junkmon. Slow. Trade. Junkmon stared. His eyes widened slightly, picked up the ingot, turned it, sniffed it like a suspicious animal. Then it stuffed it under its helmet with a quick motion and spoke again. More willing now. The stone translated in a rough stream. Under rail. Red alley. Door behind wires. Do not light wand. Do not show magic. If D Brigade sees, they shoot. If eaters see, they eat. Harry's spine went cold at the last word. Eaters. Junkman's face tightened. Spoke slower, like it hated saying it. The stone gave him enough. Eaters are not Digimon. They take mind. They leave shell. They follow anomalies. They like bright. Harry's mouth went dry. Bright like Patronus. Junkmon did not understand the word. Doraemon did, somehow. Doraemon's eyes flicked away. Harry stored that reaction. He nodded at Junkmon. Thanks. Junkmon snorted again, already bored, and waved them off with a little hand like shooing flies. Harry and Doraemon moved fast, following Doraemon's mental map and Junkman's directions. They cut down 2 streets, took a left at a broken screen that showed a looping smile, then slipped into a red-lit alley that smelled like warm metal. A curtain of hanging wires covered a narrow doorway. Doraemon paused at the entrance, ears angled, listening. It projected a brief sensation into Harry's mind. Safe enough. Harry pushed through the wires carefully. Inside was a cramped space, more a maintenance room than a home, lit by a dim blue panel that hummed. A pile of old blankets sat in the corner. A rusted shelf held bottles and spare parts and a small heater unit. Harry exhaled. Shelter. Doraemon limped inside and collapsed onto the blankets with a low grunt, pretending it had chosen to lie down. Harry shut the door, then leaned his forehead against the cool metal for a second. Eyes closed. He did not relax. He just let his muscles stop vibrating. When he turned, Doraemon was watching him again. Harry crouched near the blankets, keeping a respectful distance. We need names. We need language. Doraemon made a small sound, impatient. Harry held up the stone. This is giving me rough translation, but it hurts, and it is not clean. Doraemon's eyes narrowed, suspicious. Then it spoke a short phrase. Harry's head throbbed, and a clearer image formed. Not words. Intent. You are wrong. You smell wrong. You are glitch. Harry blew out a breath that almost turned into a laugh. Yes, I am aware. Doraemon's claws flexed. Another flash. You bring hunters. Harry's jaw tightened. I did not ask for this. Doraemon's eyes went flat, unimpressed. Harry's anger flared, sharp and bitter. I was pushed through a death curtain by people wearing my government's badge. I landed in a war zone and got shot at. So forgive me if I do not have a plan. Doraemon stared at him, then blinked once. Slow. The anger in its posture eased a fraction. Harry swallowed, because he had just yelled at a wounded creature he had known for less than a day. He rubbed his face with his hand, then lowered his voice. Tell me what you know about eaters. Doraemon's ears flattened. It did not like that word either. Images spilled into Harry's mind. A Digimon walking, then stopping mid-step like its strings were cut. Its eyes went empty, a black shape like torn cloth sliding over it. The Digimon's mouth opened in a silent scream. The shape pulled something out that was not flesh, more like light, and the Digimon sagged, alive but gone. Harry's stomach turned. He tasted bile. He swallowed it down. Do they kill? He asked. Doraemon's answer came as a feeling. Worse. Harry nodded grimly. Right? He sat back on his heels. Then we do not get caught by them. And we do not draw attention. Doraemon's eyes flicked to Harry's wand. Harry got the message. He tucked his wand inside his sleeve, leaving only the handle within reach. He did not like being without it, but he liked being shot less. He held up both hands, showing Doraemon. See. Hidden. Doraemon did not look reassured, but it stopped glaring. Harry leaned back against the wall, keeping his head up, listening. Outside, the city's noise shifted. The sirens were closer now, and the loudspeaker voice repeated again and again. Harry caught fragments through the stone when he dared to open it for a second. Unauthorized entity. Sector purge. Report anomaly. Harry's skin prickled. He felt watched. He did not know if that was paranoia or if the world really had eyes. He closed his eyes for a heartbeat, and the whisper of the veil tried to crawl up his spine. Sirius's laugh almost surfaced. Harry snapped his eyes open again. Not now. Doraemon spoke softer than before. Harry felt the words more than heard them. Why you help? Harry stared at the dim blue light on the panel. He considered lying. Lying was easy. It also sounded fake. He answered honestly. Because you looked like you were going to die, and I have watched enough people die. Doraemon stared. Harry added, rough. And because I am tired of being the kind of person who walks away. Doraemon's tail twitched. It did not look moved, but it did not look like it wanted to claw his face either. That was a win. They stayed there for a short time, just long enough for Doraemon's breathing to steady and for Harry's hands to stop shaking. Then a new sound rolled over the city. A deep, mechanical thump, spaced like footsteps. Harry's head lifted. Doraemon's ears shot up. The footsteps moved closer, then past, distant but heavy. Harry opened the stone for a second. Just enough. The loudspeaker voice sharpened into meaning. Darkderman patrol. All units comply. Lockdown escalates. Harry's mouth went dry. Doraemon pushed itself upright with effort, eyes bright with fear and anger. Harry stood. We cannot stay in one place. If they are sweeping, they will find any hideout eventually. Doraemon's gaze flicked to the door, then to Harry, then out again, like it wanted to argue but knew the truth. Harry tucked the stone away, checked his wand, and cracked the door open a sliver. The alley outside was quiet, but quiet in a way that felt staged. Harry stepped out first, shoulders tight, and motioned Doraemon to follow. They moved quickly, slipping along the wall, keeping under signs and cables. Harry avoided using magic. He relied on shadows, on timing, on the old aura instincts he had sworn he would never need again. They crossed a narrow street, then another. Ahead, a small group of Digimon huddled around someone on the ground. Harry slowed, instinct screaming at him to keep moving. Doraemon slowed too, eyes narrowing. Harry saw the figure on the ground clearly. It was a Digimon, mid-size, lying on its side, eyes open but blank. Not dead, not awake. Its mouth hung slightly open like it had forgotten what breathing was. A smaller Digimon shook it, panicked, making high noises. Another looked around wildly. Harry's throat tightened. He had seen coma stares before in St. Mungo's. He moved closer before he could stop himself. The smaller Digimon spotted him and froze. It made a warning sound. Sharp. Doraemon growled low, defensive. Harry lifted his hand. I am not here to steal anything. The Digimon did not understand. The smaller one spoke fast, frantic. Harry pulled the stone out, forced it open just enough, ignoring the spike of pain behind his eyes. The meaning slammed in. Eater. Took mind. Do not touch. Comes back. Harry's skin went cold. He looked at the blank-eyed Digimon again, and a chill crawled over him, because the Digimon's outline flickered at the edges like a broken signal. Harry's voice came out low. Where? The smaller Digimon pointed with a shaking hand toward the mouth of a side alley. Harry's eyes followed. The alley was darker than it should be. Not because of shadow, because something inside it ate light. A shape moved there. Harry's breath caught. It looked wrong. Not a Digimon. Not anything. A humanoid outline made of black static and torn edges, like a hole wearing a body. It turned its head toward Harry. Harry felt its attention like a hand closing around his throat. Doraemon snarled, stepping in front of Harry without thinking. The eater moved. It did not walk. It slid as if the ground was irrelevant. Harry's skin prickled. His scar did not exist anymore, but the old fear reflex lit up anyway. The eater's face, if it had one, shifted. For a second Harry saw a shape that looked like a mask. Then it was just static again. It reached toward the blank-eyed Digimon. The smaller Digimon screamed and backed away. Harry's voice came out sharp. No! He pulled his wand out fully. Doraemon's head snapped back toward him, alarm flaring. Harry did not have time to explain. The eater turned fully toward Harry, and Harry felt something claw at the edges of his mind. Not thoughts. Memories. He saw a flash of Hogwarts corridors. Blood on stone. Fred's body. The sound of someone sobbing and Harry not knowing if it was him. He staggered, teeth clenched. The eater was feeding without touching him. Harry's breath hitched. His hand shook. Doraemon lunged. It slammed into the eater with claws out. The claws passed through. Doraemon yelped, and its body flickered for a heartbeat, like it had been shocked. The eater tilted its head like it was curious. Then it pressed closer. Harry felt the pull again, hard, like someone reaching into his skull and yanking. He saw the graveyard, Voldemort's pale face, the cold grip around his arm. Cedric falling. Harry's stomach lurched. He tasted bile. He forced his voice out through clenched teeth. Get out of my head. The eater did not care. Harry's mind frayed at the edges. His hands went cold. He knew what would happen if it took too much. He would become like the blank-eyed Digimon, alive but gone. Harry's voice turned raw. Patronus. The word came out like a lifeline and a threat. Silver light burst from his wand. A stag exploded into existence, bright enough to turn the street white. It was not just light. It had a sharp, clean edge to it, like code rendered perfectly. For a split second Harry saw faint lines inside it, a pattern like circuitry. Then it resolved into a living shape. The eater recoiled like it had been punched. Screamed, silent, but the air shook. The static rain around it hissed as if burned. The stag drove forward, antlers down, and the eater tore backward, trying to retreat into the alley. The Patronus followed, relentless. The eater's body ripped into fragments, black squares breaking apart like corrupted files being deleted. Harry's knees almost buckled. He held the spell anyway, breathing hard, sweat pouring down his spine. The eater collapsed into nothing. The alley brightened, normal shadow returning like a curtain pulled back. Harry let the Patronus fade, because keeping it up felt like holding a sun in his hand. The street was silent for half a second. Then everything broke at once. A high-pitched siren screamed from somewhere above. A set of lights on a nearby pole flashed red. A mechanical voice barked a warning in language Harry could now half understand through the stone's lingering effect. Vaccine spike detected. Anomaly confirmed. Units converge. Harry's stomach dropped. He had just lit himself up like a flare. Doraemon stood rigid beside him, eyes wide. The smaller Digimon stared at Harry in open fear, then grabbed the blank-eyed one and dragged it away, trembling. Harry did not chase them. He could not blame them for running. He turned to Doraemon. We move. Now. Doraemon did not argue. It limped, fast as it could, body tense. They ran, not a full sprint, but fast enough that scrap clattered underfoot. Harry heard boots behind them, distant at first, then closer. He ducked into an alley, pulled Doraemon with him, and risked one spell. Muffliato. The bubble of silence snapped around them, cutting their footfalls and breathing down to nothing. It felt strange in this world, like the sound had not vanished but been compressed. They moved deeper into the alley, then cut through a gap into another street. A patrol unit appeared at the far end, for Command Ramon moving in formation, weapons up. Their eyes flared red when they spotted movement. Harry's breath hitched. He grabbed Doraemon's shoulder, guiding it behind a broken vending unit. Doraemon snarled but complied. Harry's mind raced. He could stun them. He could drop a wall. But any bright spell would flag him again. He needed something quiet. He aimed his wand at the ground near the vending unit. A quick, tight transfiguration. The scrap under the commanderman's feet softened, turned to a slick, tar-like surface. The first commandermon stepped onto it and slid hard, arms flailing. The one behind it crashed into its back. Their formation broke. Their weapons swung wildly. Harry took the opening. Petrificus totalis, non-verbal, tight. The first one locked up, glitched and fell face first. The second froze half a step later. The third raised its weapon and fired anyway. Bullets chewing into the vending unit, sparks spraying. Doraemon flinched and snarled. Harry shoved Doraemon lower and fired a stunner into the third. The stunner hit, and the commandermon flickered, then collapsed. The fourth turned and ran, fast like it had a better survival instinct than its friends. It shouted a distorted call as it retreated. Harry's heart hammered. He grabbed Doraemon's scruff again, ignoring the snap of teeth that came too slow to bite, and dragged it deeper into the maze of alleys. They ran until Harry's lungs burned and his vision sharpened at the edges. That dangerous clarity that meant adrenaline was carrying him past his limits. They cut through a narrow lane and emerged into a wider service road under a raised structure that looked like an old rail line made of metal beams and cables. Under rail, Harry thought, good. The space under the rail was darker, quieter. The static rain hissed softly on the metal above. Shadows pooled in corners. The air smelled like damp rust. Harry forced himself to slow. Doraemon's limp was worse now. His breathing came in harsh pulls. Harry crouched beside it again. You need to stop pushing. You are going to tear the wound. Doraemon bared its teeth, furious. Harry held its gaze. I know. I hate it too. Doraemon froze, like it did not expect Harry to talk to it like that. Then it sagged slightly, anger giving way to exhaustion. Harry reached into his pocket for the dittany again, then stopped. A new sound cut through the air. Soft footsteps, not heavy boots. Someone was following them, and it was not trying to be heard. Harry's spine went cold. He lifted his wand, angled toward the shadowed mouth of the service road. Come out, he said, voice low. Silence. Doraemon's ears flattened. It growled deep, warning. Harry held steady. If you are going to kill me, do it properly. I am not chasing shadows in a city that hates me. A small laugh drifted from the darkness, quiet and controlled. A human stepped into view. She was about Harry's age, maybe a little younger, wrapped in a dark coat with the hood down. Her hair was tied back. Her eyes were sharp, taking him in with one quick scan, then flicking to Doraemon, then to Harry's wand again. A second shape moved beside her, silent as smoke. Renamon, tall, gold fur, purple gloves, eyes calm and deadly. It did not move like an animal. It moved like a blade deciding whether it needed to be drawn. Harry's grip tightened. The woman spoke in a language Harry did not know, tone smooth, almost amused. Harry pulled the stone out without thinking, opened it a crack, and pain spiked behind his eyes. The meaning snapped in. You are loud. You are reckless. You are not from here. Harry's jaw clenched. That is not helpful. She lifted a brow, like she understood the attitude even if she did not understand the exact words. She spoke again, slower. The stone translated in pieces. Patronus. Vaccine light. That saved you from Eater. That made you a beacon. Now D-Brigade and system will tear the sector apart. Harry swallowed. Yes, I noticed that too. Her gaze flicked to Doraemon's wound. She said something short. Renamon took one step forward. Not aggressive, just present. Doraemon snarled and tried to stand, pain making it shake. Harry put a hand out, palm down to Doraemon, a calming gesture. Stay. Doraemon's eyes cut to him, angry, but it stayed crouched. Harry looked at the woman again. Who are you? She pointed at herself, then said a name. Seo. Harry repeated it. Seo. She nodded once, satisfied. Harry pointed at himself. Harry. Seo's eyes narrowed slightly, like she had expected a different answer. She said something quick. The stone translated the sting of it. Liar. Harry's temper flared. I do not have time for this. Seo's gaze stayed steady. She spoke again, lower, and Renneman's stance shifted, subtle, like a warning that patience had limits. The stone gave Harry the meaning. I know what you are, glitch. The sky screamed your signature. You should be dead already. So explain why you are here, before Darkderman finds you. Harry let out a harsh breath. Because my own people threw me into a death curtain. Seo stared. She did not look convinced, but she did not look like she thought he was joking either. Harry gestured at the rail above, the city around them. I do not belong here. I do not know your rules. I just stopped a thing that eats minds. Seo's eyes flicked, sharp, at the mention of minds. She spoke again, and this time her tone was flatter, less teasing. The stone translated it cleanly. Eaters do not show themselves unless the system is weak or a breach is open. If you brought that, you are a disaster. Harry's stomach twisted, because that was exactly what he was afraid of. He held her gaze. I did not choose it. But if I did bring it, then I am the only one who can fix it. Seo's lips pressed together. She looked at Rennemon briefly, a quick glance that said thoughts without words. Renneman's eyes stayed on Harry, unreadable. Then Seo spoke, decisive. The stone translated. Come. You cannot stay in the open. You will get Doraemon killed, and you will end up empty-eyed on the pavement. Harry's jaw tightened at the bluntness. He nodded once anyway. Fine. Led. Seo turned without ceremony. Rennemon moved first, silent and graceful. Seo followed, then glanced back, making a small gesture that meant hurry. Harry helped Doraemon up, careful, and this time Doraemon did not snap. It still looked like it wanted to, but it did not. That mattered. They moved under the rail, then up a narrow service stair built into the metal supports. Seo led them through a maintenance corridor and out into a back street that smelled like fried oil and hot dust. She kept to Shadow's new patrol rhythms. She stopped once, pressed a finger to her lips, and they waited as a D Brigade unit passed the end of the street, boots heavy, weapons up. Darkderman's footsteps shook the ground when it moved past, distant but close enough that Harry felt it in his teeth. Doraemon trembled beside him, trying to hide it. Harry kept his face blank and his body still because panic made noise. When the patrol passed, Seo moved again, faster. They cut through 2 alleys and slipped into a narrow doorway. Inside was a small room lit by dim screens, packed with equipment and spare parts and blankets. A cheap heater unit hummed in the corner. Seo shut the door and leaned against it, breathing steady. Harry's heart still hammered. Sweat cooled on his skin, making him shiver. Doraemon sagged onto the blankets with a low grunt. Rennemon stood near the wall, arms folded, eyes on Harry like a quiet judge. Seo stared at Harry for a long moment, then spoke in a low voice. The stone translated, and the pain behind Harry's eyes flared. But he held it open anyway because he needed this. Tell me who sent you. Tell me what you are. And tell me why the system is reacting like you are a virus made of magic. Harry swallowed hard. He looked down at the resurrection stone in his palm, felt its cold pulse, and realized with a sick twist that using it here felt easier than it should. Like this world had more echoes than it should. Harry lifted his eyes to Seo. I can explain. But you are not going to like it. Outside, distant sirens rose again, closer than before, and the loudspeaker voice repeated the same warning with sharper urgency. Seo's face tightened. Renneman's ears flicked. Harry felt the air change, like the city had just narrowed its focus. Then, somewhere very close, a heavy thump hit the ground, spaced like a giant walking. Darkderman was sweeping this sector. Seo's voice cut low and urgent, translated by the stone in Harry's skull like a knife. You have 1 minute, Harry. Then we run. Seo did not blink while she stared at Harry. Rennemon stood to her left, still as a statue, but the room felt tighter because of her, like the air remembered she could kill someone before they finished a sentence. Doraemon lay on the blankets in the corner, chest rising in shallow pulls. Its eyes stayed open. It watched Harry like it expected him to make one wrong move and prove every fear correct. Harry's fingers were still wrapped around the resurrection stone. The cold kept biting through his skin, and his head still throbbed from forcing meaning out of a world that wanted to stay unreadable. Outside, heavy footsteps hit the street again. The whole wall trembled faintly with each thump. Darkderman, close. Seo spoke again, short and sharp. Harry opened the stone just enough. Pain pricked behind his eyes. Tell me now. Harry swallowed. His mouth tasted like dust and old panic. They sent me to the Vale, he said. He kept his voice low, because the building had thin walls and the city had ears. Ministry summons. Official seal. Department of Mysteries. Same room, same arch. I go in, and they are waiting. Seo's gaze stayed flat. She said something else. The stone translated with a sting. Why you? Harry let out a breath that came out too harsh. Because I am inconvenient. Because I do not play nice with people who want to own me. Because I know too much. Doraemon's tail flicked, irritated, but it did not look away. It listened. Harry forced himself to keep going before he lost the nerve. They had spells that behaved wrong, he said. Like mine. Their shields had this grid. Like a screen. And they had a device. A disc. Pulsed and the room pulled me toward the Vale. They did not arrest me. They deleted me. Seo's expression shifted, just a fraction. Not sympathy. Calculation. She said another line, slower. The stone gave him the meaning. So your world throws problems into death. Harry barked a humorless laugh. Yes, we are very advanced. Renneman's ears flicked at the tone. Her gaze sharpened like she did not like Harry's sarcasm, or she did not trust it. Seo gestured toward Harry's wand with 2 fingers. Harry understood. She wanted him to hide it. He slid it back into his sleeve. The absence felt wrong, like taking off armor. Seo walked closer, boots quiet on the floor. She stopped just out of reach, a deliberate distance. Her eyes dropped to the stone in Harry's hand. She spoke softly, and the stone translated in a colder, clearer line. That stone is not safe. Harry's stomach tightened. I know. Seo's mouth pressed into a thin line. She looked past him to Doraemon. Doraemon bared its teeth slightly, then stopped, breathing hard. Seo said something to Doraemon without looking away from Harry. Doraemon answered with a rough growl. Harry caught the intent even without the stone. Doraemon did not want this. Doraemon did not trust her. Doraemon did not trust Harry. Seo turned back to Harry. Her tone changed. Less interrogation. More instruction. The stone translated. If Darkderman finds you, you die. If the system finds you, you die. If eaters find you, you die and keep breathing. We can keep running until you collapse, or we can put you somewhere they will hesitate to shoot. Harry's throat went tight. Where? Seo pointed upward, toward the ceiling like it meant a place beyond it. The stone translated. Authority. Harry stared at her. The word tasted wrong in his mouth. You mean you want to walk me into a government building? Harry said, voice low. In the middle of a lockdown, while the sky is screaming about me. Seo's eyes narrowed, and the stone made her answer sharp. You are already dead here. At least inside a quarantine room you can speak before they pull the trigger. Harry's mind flashed to the ministry corridor again. The way the air had rippled. The way the veil had pulled like a mouth. He did not like trusting authority. He also did not like dying in an alley. He glanced at Doraemon. Doraemon's eyes met his, fierce and exhausted at the same time. Harry made his choice. All right, he said. But we do it properly. I do not crawl. I do not beg. If I am going to talk, I talk like an emissary. Seo's brows lifted slightly, amused. The stone translated her reply. You do not have clothes for emissary. Harry looked down at himself. Torn sleeve. Blood on his forearm. Dust everywhere. Hair full of static grit. He huffed once. I have done worse. Seo turned to the door. Renamon moved first, silent, already listening. Seo cracked the door and looked out for a long beat, then motioned. They left the hideout in a tight line. Renamon led, ghost quiet. Seo followed, eyes scanning. Harry came third. Doraemon limped at his side, closer than before, like it had decided if Harry was a disaster, it would at least watch the disaster properly. The street outside was empty in the way a street got empty when fear lived there. They moved under the rail line again, hugging shadows. The static rain hissed on metal overhead. Every so often, a screen flickered and cast a brief white flash across the pavement. Harry's heart jumped every time. Sayo stopped them at the corner of a service lane. She held up her hand. Renamon froze. Harry froze. Doraemon froze with a low growl stuck in its throat. Boots passed in the distance. Command Ramon, 4 of them moving in formation. Behind them a taller silhouette moved like a weight. The thump of it hit the ground and traveled through Harry's bones. Darkdraman again, sweeping. Harry kept his breathing quiet, mouth slightly open to keep it silent. Sweat ran down his spine. His hand hovered near his sleeve where his wand sat. He did not draw it. The patrol passed. Sayo moved immediately, faster now. They cut through a narrow alley with red light leaking from broken signs. Then through a corridor that smelled like hot oil and old wires. They crossed a street with shuttered storefronts and dead screens. They passed a small group of Digimon huddled behind a metal grate, watching, not speaking. Harry felt their eyes on him. He felt the weight of the sky's warning even when he could not see it. Sayo led them to a building that looked like a collapsed station rebuilt into something functional. Metal beams formed a rough entrance. 2 heavy doors stood open, and inside, pale light washed over tiled floors. Harry slowed, instinct screaming. Inside meant cameras. Inside meant scans. Inside meant locks. Sayo glanced back, impatient. The stone was not open, but her face said it anyway. Now, Harry stepped in. The air changed immediately. Cleaner, cooler. It smelled like disinfectant and overheated circuits. The lights above did not flicker. That felt wrong in this city. Like this place had its own rules. 2 Digimon stood by the entrance like guards. Tall, bulky, metal bodies, eyes dim but alert. Their arms were heavy, built for holding lines. Guardraman, Harry's mind supplied, and again he hated how his brain knew. One of them raised its head. Spoke, voice metallic. Sayo answered without hesitation. Harry opened the stone a crack. Pain spiked behind his eyes. She's bringing an anomaly. Quarantine. No weapons. Harry swallowed. The Guardraman's eyes shifted to Harry's sleeve. Then to Doraemon. Spoke again, sharper. Doraemon is marked. That one is glitch. Why bring? Sayo's answer came fast. He can fight eaters. He has information. He is not D-Brigade. The guard stared for a beat, then stepped aside. Another metal door slid open with a low grind. Sayo motioned them through. Harry walked in first. Doraemon followed, stiff. Renamon came last, silent, eyes scanning corners. They entered a long hallway lined with dull screens. The screens showed symbols that shifted and settled, like a language that could not decide on one font. Cables ran along the ceiling. The floor was clean enough that Harry could see his own boots reflected faintly. He hated that. A smaller Digimon approached from the far end. It wore a coat. It had a clipboard that looked like a tablet. It stopped short when it saw Harry. Its eyes widened slightly. It spoke in quick bursts. Sayo answered. Renamon stayed still. Doraemon growled. Harry opened the stone again. Identification. Origin. Reason for breach. Harry forced his shoulders back. He lifted his chin. Harry Potter, he said clearly. Wizarding world. I request asylum and diplomatic contact with whoever is in charge. The Digimon blinked like it did not understand the shape of that sentence even after translation. Sayo spoke again, sharper, adding something. Harry caught the meaning through the stone. He says he is emissary. He will talk. If you delay, D-Brigade kills him and the eaters grow. The Digimon's eyes flicked to Doraemon, then to Harry's hands. It said something that translated as a demand. Show no magic. Harry swallowed his irritation. He lifted both hands, palms open, showing nothing but scraped skin. The Digimon nodded once. It spoke into its tablet. The tablet chirped softly. A door at the side of the hallway slid open. Quarantine, Harry thought. Sayo stepped toward it. The Digimon held up a hand to stop her. Sayo's eyes narrowed. The stone translated. Only anomaly. Companion injured goes medical. Human stays alone. Doraemon snarled and shifted closer to Harry. Harry's stomach tightened. No, the Digimon blinked. confused at the sound. Seo spoke rapidly, arguing. The stone made it clear. Rules. Risk. Infection. Mark. Harry's jaw clenched. He looked down at Doraemon. Doraemon's eyes were bright with anger and fear. Harry's voice came out low. If they separate us, you run. You do not wait. You hear me? Doraemon stared like it hated the idea. Harry leaned closer, just enough for Doraemon to smell him. You live. That matters. Doraemon's claws flexed. Then Seo stepped in, her voice cutting through the argument. She said something short and cold. The guard Digimon hesitated. The stone translated. If you touch him, you will answer to me. Harry glanced at her, surprised. Seo did not look at him. Her eyes stayed locked on the official. The official swallowed. Spoke again, slower. The meaning landed. Doraemon stays. But leash. Renamon outside. Renamon's ears flicked once. Seo's shoulders eased a fraction. Harry's relief was brief. A metal collar appeared from a compartment in the wall, sliding out like a tool. The official held it up. Doraemon bared its teeth. Harry stepped forward, voice flat. No collar. The official spoke. Annoyed. The stone translated. Quarantine requires restraint. Harry's temper flared. Old memories of chains and cages flashed, sharp and ugly. Seo's gaze cut to Harry, warning him not to blow this. Harry forced himself to breathe. All right, he said. No collar. You want restraint, you restrain me. The official blinked. It did not expect that. Harry took another slow breath. You can scan me. You can lock the door. But you do not put that on him. Doraemon stared at Harry, ears twitching, like it did not know what to do with someone choosing a stupid hill to die on. Seo spoke, quieter now. The stone translated. He is stubborn. Use door lock. Leave collar. The official hesitated, then snapped its tablet shut and gestured them into the quarantine room. Harry stepped inside first. The room was bare. Clean metal walls. A single bench. A screen on the far wall that glowed with soft symbols. The air smelled faintly of ozone. Doraemon limped in after him, eyeing everything like it expected the walls to bite. Seo stood at the doorway. Renamon stood behind her, half in shadow, eyes on Harry like a promise. The official tapped the tablet. The door began to slide shut. Harry's chest tightened. Seo leaned in, voice low, fast. Do not be clever, she said. And her words were English now, slightly accented but clear enough that Harry almost stumbled. Harry stared at her. You speak English. Seo's mouth twitched. You speak enough of mine. I adapt. The door kept sliding. Harry's throat went dry. What are you? Seo held his gaze. Someone who does not want this city to rot. The door closed with a heavy click. Harry exhaled slowly. He was locked in a box again. Doraemon moved to the corner and sat, tense, tail curled tight. It watched the door like it might explode open. Harry walked to the screen. The symbols shifted when he got close, as if reading him. He did not like that either. He pulled the resurrection stone out and held it low, out of habit, like hiding a knife. He did not open it. He listened. Outside, voices moved down the hall. Footsteps. Metal doors sliding. A low hum that might have been scanners. Doraemon spoke. Rough. Harry did not need the stone for the feeling this time. Trap. Harry swallowed. Yes. He sat on the bench, elbows on his knees, wand still hidden in his sleeve. His hands shook slightly, and he hated that too. A panel in the wall slid open with a soft hiss, and a thin beam of pale light swept across the room. Scan. Harry held still. The light moved over his face, his chest, his hands, paused at his wand arm, then moved on. The beam made a faint chirp noise. Harry's stomach dropped. The screen on the wall flashed. Symbols appeared in a rapid stream. Harry could not read them without the stone. He did not want to use the stone again. He used it anyway. Pain stabbed behind his eyes as meaning crawled into place. Anomaly confirmed. Unknown type signature. High threat. Quarantine level raised. Harry's mouth went dry. Doraemon's fur bristled. It growled low like it sensed the shift. A new voice spoke through a speaker in the wall. Calm. Cold. Harry opened the stone again and forced it to translate. You have 5 minutes to state intent. Then containment escalates. Harry's jaw tightened. My intent is to not be murdered. Silence. Then the voice again with the same cold patience. State intent. Harry leaned forward, forcing himself to speak like he was in a hearing room, not a cage. I am not D Brigade, he said. I am not an eater. I am not your enemy. I was displaced here by betrayal in my world. I have information about a breach point and about a threat that eats minds. I request diplomatic contact with whoever runs this system. The speaker stayed silent for a beat. Then it answered, and the stone translated with a chill. You are not authorized to request contact with the system. Harry's temper flared. Then put me in front of whoever is authorized. The reply came immediate. No. Harry stared at the speaker. He felt the familiar helpless anger rising in his chest, the old feeling of shouting at walls while adults decided his life. Doraemon's tail snapped once. Spoke again, sharper. Harry caught the intent like a thrown knife. Run. Harry shook his head. Not yet. Doraemon's eyes narrowed, furious. Harry looked at it. If we break out right now, they call D Brigade and we die in the street. If we talk, maybe we get one person in charge who likes paperwork more than blood. Doraemon stared like it did not understand why Harry thought paperwork mattered. Harry almost laughed. He did not. Footsteps approached outside the door. Heavy, deliberate. Not the clatter of Gardramen. Not the soft step of Sao. Something else. The hum in the hallway changed pitch, like the building was bracing. Harry stood. Doraemon rose too, shaky, but its eyes were bright now, hunting. The door slid open. 2 Digimon stepped in first, smaller, both armored, both carrying tools that looked like restraints. They moved to either side, making a corridor. Then the third stepped in, tall, broad, a knight built out of dark armor, shield as wide as a door, a lance held with easy weight. The crest on its chest looked like an emblem carved into metal, too clean, too perfect. Craniamon. Harry's brain supplied the name with a sting of dread. The room went colder. Craniamon's eyes were not eyes. They were a faint glow behind a visor, like a machine pretending to be alive. It spoke. The stone translated, and the words hit like a verdict. Anomaly. Virus. Unauthorized code. Delete. Doraemon snarled and lunged half a step, then stopped when its injured side flared pain through it. Harry's hands clenched. He forced his voice steady. I am not a virus, he said. I am a person, and I am requesting diplomatic contact. Craniamon did not move. It did not care. Spoke again, slower, like explaining to a child. Your existence destabilizes this sector. Eaters follow anomalies. Your magic is corrupted input. You will be removed. Harry's stomach twisted, because the logic was brutal and clean. Craniamon's shield shifted slightly, and Harry felt the air change again. Pressure building. Sao's voice shouted from the hallway, sharp and furious, in her own language. Craniamon did not turn its head. It did not have to. Renamon's presence hit the doorway like a blade drawn halfway. Harry did not see her fully, but he felt her. Craniamon spoke again, and the stone translated the insult in a flat line. Local interference is irrelevant. Sao said something back, and Harry caught enough without even opening the stone. You do not have authority here. Craniamon replied without looking. I do. Harry's pulse hammered. He forced himself between Doraemon and Craniamon, body tense, wand still hidden. I did not come here to start a war, Harry said. But if you try to kill me, you are going to have to do it while I fight. Craniamon lifted its lance. The air in front of it shimmered. Harry saw the faint grid again, the same pattern he had seen in the ministry corridor, and his skin went cold. Not just this world. Something else was touching both. Craniamon thrust. The lance did not hit like metal. It hit like a command. A wave of force slammed into Harry's chest and threw him backward. He hit the wall hard enough that stars burst behind his eyes. His ribs screamed. Air left him in a harsh cough. Doraemon snarled and launched itself at Craniamon's legs. Craniamon's shield dropped a fraction, and the force that came off it knocked Doraemon sideways like it was nothing. Doraemon hit the floor, skidding, claws scraping. Harry's vision cleared just enough to see Doraemon's body twitch with pain. Harry's throat went tight. "Stop!" he rasped. Craniuman stepped forward. Slow, inevitable. "Delete." Harry's hand shook as he pulled his wand free. He did not cast a bright spell. He cast something tight and sharp. Expelliarmus. The spell hit Craniuman's shield. The grid flared. Harry's spell smeared like paint against a screen and dissolved. Useless. Craniuman did not even flinch. Harry's mouth went dry. The knight raised the lance again. Seo shouted from the doorway, and Renamon moved. Fast. A blur of gold. She tried to strike from the side, claws aimed for joints. Craniuman's shield snapped up with a heavy clang, and the impact tossed Renamon back a step. Renamon landed clean, but her eyes were sharper now, surprised at the strength. Craniuman spoke again, and the stone translated with cold certainty. Royal Knights do not negotiate with glitches. Harry's anger flared hot enough to burn through pain. He spat blood onto the floor and forced himself upright. "Then you are going to learn," he said. He cast again, not at Craniuman but at the room. Confringo. The explosion tore into the ceiling, blasting panels and cables. Sparks rained down. The lights flickered. The hum of the building stuttered. Craniuman's visor turned slightly, annoyed. Harry used the moment to move. He grabbed Doraemon's scruff, ignoring the snap of teeth that came too slow, and hauled it toward the door. Renamon was already there, body angled to block. Seo's hand shot out and grabbed Harry's wrist, dragging him through. "Move!" she snapped in English. Harry did not argue. They hit the hallway in a sprint. Alarms screamed, higher pitched now. Doors slid shut ahead of them. Lights flashed red. The loudspeaker voice barked orders that the stone translated in ugly fragments. Containment breach. Kill anomaly. Harry's lungs burned. His ribs hurt with every breath. He kept Doraemon close at his side, half supporting, half dragging. Seo led them left at the first junction, then right, then down a narrow maintenance stair. Renamon stayed behind for a heartbeat, then fell in at the rear, guarding. Craniuman's footsteps hit the hallway behind them. Slow but relentless. Each step felt like a threat. Not rushed. Certain. Harry's mind raced. He needed distance. He needed an exit. He needed to not be cornered in a hallway with a royal knight. They reached a service corridor lined with cables and hot vents. The air smelled burnt and metallic. A door ahead slammed shut. Seo swore, breathless. Renamon stepped forward and slashed. The door did not break. It flashed with the same faint grid pattern, then held. Renamon's eyes narrowed. Harry's stomach dropped. Grid again. Craniuman spoke behind them, voice calm. The stone translated the finality. You cannot run from the system. Harry's throat went tight. Seo's eyes flicked to Harry, sharp, demanding. Do something. Harry's hand tightened on his wand. He did not want to cast bright spells. He did not want to flag himself again. But they were already flagged. They were already in the kill box. Harry aimed at the floor. Reducto. The spell hit the tiles and shattered them, blasting a jagged hole downward into the level below. Hot air and dust surged up. Seo did not hesitate. She dropped first, landing hard but controlled. Renamon followed like she weighed nothing. Harry grabbed Doraemon and threw it down after them, careful enough not to slam its wound, rough enough to keep moving. Then Harry jumped. He hit the lower level in a crouch. Pain shot through his legs and up his spine. He bit back a sound and forced himself upright. They were in a storage area filled with stacked crates and old equipment. Seo was already moving, leading them between the stacks. Harry kept Doraemon close. Doraemon's breathing was harsher now, the limp worse. Its eyes were bright with fury, but the body could not match it. Craniuman dropped into the hole above them with a heavy slam. The impact shook dust down from the ceiling. Craniuman stood, shield up, lance steady, blocking the only visible exit back. Harry's pulse hammered. The knight spoke again, almost patient. You have value only as deletion. Renamon stepped forward, claws flexing. Seo grabbed Renamon's arm for half a second, holding her back, and Harry saw the calculation in Seo's eyes. Renamon could not win head-on. Not like this. Harry took one step forward, putting himself between Craniuman and Doraemon again. Seo's hand touched Harry's sleeve, brief, steadying. "Do not die," she said, so low only he heard. It was not affectionate. It was practical. Harry swallowed hard. Cranium moved. The lance thrust again, faster this time, and the wave of force slammed toward Harry like a wall. Harry threw up Protego. The shield flared, then flickered. The grid shimmered across it. The force hit, and Harry's shield bent like it was made of rubber. It screamed, a horrible electronic whine, like the shield was being overwritten. Harry's feet slid back on the floor. His arms shook. His teeth clenched until his jaw ached. The shield held for a heartbeat. Then it shattered. Harry flew backward into a stack of crates. Wood splintered. Metal clanged. Pain exploded through his side. He tasted blood again. He coughed it onto the floor. Doraemon snarled and tried to lunge, but its leg buckled. Cranium stepped toward Doraemon. Harry saw it happen in slow motion. The knight's lance angled down. Doraemon's eyes widened. Harry's throat went tight. He did not think. He did not plan. He moved. He launched himself in front of Doraemon. Arms spread like that could stop a lance. It was stupid. He did it anyway. The lance struck. It did not pierce like metal. It hit like a command trying to erase him. Harry felt it slide through his chest, cold and absolute, like the world itself had decided he should not exist. His vision went white. His ears rang. He could not breathe. He heard Seo shout his name. He heard Renamon snarl. He heard Doraemon scream, a raw sound that ripped through the room. Harry's knees buckled. He fell, gasping, hands clawing at the floor. The lance pulled back. Cranium raised it again, calm as ever. Harry looked up, eyes blurred, and saw Doraemon. Doraemon's body shook like it was trying to hold itself together. Its fur bristled. His markings flared faintly. His eyes were wide, not just with fear, with something sharper. Rage. Doraemon took one step forward, then another, limping, forcing itself. It put itself between Harry and Cranium. Harry tried to speak. No sound came. Cranium tilted its head, a fraction. The knight spoke, and the stone, half forgotten in Harry's pocket, translated even without being opened, like the words were that strong. Anomaly marked. X factor present. Deletion required. Doraemon snarled, and the sound turned into something deeper, like a growl dragging through metal. The air around Doraemon shimmered. Harry's vision sharpened for a heartbeat, and he saw the static rain that had clung to Doraemon's fur lift like dust in a storm. Cables overhead sparked. The lights flickered. Doraemon's body began to change. Not gently, not like a dream. It was violent. It was real time. It was bone and data and pain. Doraemon's spine arched. His shoulders widened. Fur rippled as if something inside it was forcing its way out. The blue stripes along its body flared brighter, then split, then stretched across new muscle. Harry heard a crack, deep like a joint resetting the wrong way. Doraemon screamed again, and the scream broke into a harsh digital hiss, like a sound file being torn open. Its claws lengthened, sharpening. Its arms thickened. Its legs shifted under it, the limp vanishing as new structure formed. Its face elongated, muzzle sharpening, teeth growing into a row of blades. A horn-like ridge formed along the top of its head, darker than the rest, edged like armor. Harry's breath caught. His chest burned where the lance had hit. He could not look away. Doraemon's tail whipped, longer now, heavier, ending in a sharper point. The whole creature expanded until it was taller than Harry, taller than Seo, broad and lean and dangerous. The transformation ended with a final thud of weight settling into the floor. Silence hit for a split second. Then the new Digimon lifted its head. Its eyes were the same, but sharper, and the fear had burned out of them. Digimon. Harry's mind supplied the name, and this time it felt like the world itself was acknowledging it. Digimon breathed once, deep, and the air moved with it. Cranium's stance shifted, just a fraction. Surprise. Digimon moved. It did not charge like a beast. It moved like a weapon released. It slammed into Cranium's shield with a full body hit, and the impact echoed through the storage room like a bell struck with a hammer. Craniumin slid back half a step. Darugamon did not let it reset. Darugamon raked claws across the shield edge, sparks flying, then snapped its jaws at the lance, catching it and twisting. Metal shrieked. Craniumin tried to pull free. Darugamon planted its feet and held, muscles taut, eyes locked. Renamon darted in from the side, trying again for joints, claws flashing. Sayo moved too, not fighting, but grabbing Harry's shoulder, hauling him backward behind a stack of crates for cover. Harry gasped, pain flaring. His hands shook. Sweat ran down his face. "Stay with me," Sayo hissed, voice tight. Harry forced air in. "I am here." Sayo's eyes flicked to his chest. There was no hole, no blood streaming, but his skin looked pale, and his breathing sounded wrong. "What did it do to you?" she snapped. Harry swallowed hard. "It tried to make me not exist." Sayo's mouth tightened. "Helpful." Craniumin shoved forward, trying to break Darugamon's hold. The lance wrenched free with a harsh sound. Craniumin thrust again, aiming past Darugamon, toward Harry's hiding spot. Darugamon's head snapped. It moved fast, catching the lance on its shoulder armor, taking the hit with a grunt that sounded like metal grinding. The force wave still blasted through, but weaker, scattered. Crates behind Harry rattled. A corner of wood splintered. Darugamon snarled, then struck. It leaped, not high, just enough, and drove both claws down onto Craniumin's shield. The shield flashed with the grid. Darugamon's claws bit into it anyway. The grid flickered. For the first time, the shield stuttered. Harry's eyes widened. Darugamon was not just hitting it. Darugamon was tearing through the system layer. Craniumin's voice turned sharper, less calm. The stone translated the anger like a chill. Unauthorized evolution. Containment breach. Purge escalates. Craniumin lifted its shield, trying to slam Darugamon back. Darugamon twisted, rolled off the impact, and landed low, tail whipping. The tail struck Craniumin's lance arm. Metal clanged. Craniumin's grip shifted. Renamon took the opening and slashed across Craniumin's knee joint. Sparks flew. Craniumin staggered half a step. Darugamon lunged and bit the edge of the shield, teeth grinding, and wrenched. The shield tore sideways. The grid flared bright, then snapped. Craniumin's shield did not break fully, but a corner sheared off, falling to the floor with a heavy thunk. Harry's breath caught. Craniumin looked down at the missing piece like it had never imagined losing one. Darugamon did not pause. Darugamon struck again, claws aimed at the chest crest. Craniumin reacted fast, using the lance as a lever, slamming the butt end into Darugamon's ribs. Darugamon grunted, slid back, then shook it off like pain was an annoyance. Harry's stomach twisted. He felt the echo of that hit in his own ribs, like their bond had tightened into something new. Darugamon's head snapped toward Harry for a fraction of a second. Not fear, a check. Harry forced himself upright, shaking, and met Darugamon's gaze. "I am fine," he rasped, even though he was not. Darugamon's eyes narrowed like it did not believe him. Then Darugamon turned back to Craniumin. "Focus hard." Craniumin lifted the lance, and the air around the tip shimmered. The grid pattern formed again, more intense, like the lance was calling a deeper command. Harry felt his skin prickle. This was the kill strike. Sayo's hand grabbed Harry's sleeve, pulling him lower. "Do not," she hissed. Harry's wand was in his hand already. He knew what would happen if he cast Patronus again. He would light himself up. He would call eaters. He would bring the sky's attention down harder. But if he did nothing, Craniumin would erase Darugamon, and then erase Harry, and then this entire mess would end with an empty stare on a pavement. Harry made a choice. Not Patronus. Something else. Something quiet but absolute. He whispered a ward, a hard one, and slammed his palm to the floor. The metal under Craniumin rippled. For a heartbeat it looked like stone. Then it turned sticky, heavy, like tar. Craniumin's boot sank half an inch. The knight paused, confused. Darugamon moved instantly. Darugamon surged forward and slammed its shoulder into Craniumin's chest, driving the knight backward before the lance command could finish forming. Craniumin hit a stack of crates. Wood exploded. Metal clanged. Darugamon did not stop. Darugamon pinned Craniumin with a forearm, claws digging into armor seams, and snapped its jaws near the visor, teeth scraping. Craniumin shoved, trying to get the lance up. Renamon darted in and struck the lance shaft, knocking it sideways. Sayo leaned out from cover and shouted something sharp, likely a command to Renamon. Harry did not have the stone open, but he did not need it. Finish it. Darugamon roared, a sound that shook dust off the ceiling. Darugamon raised one claw and drove it into the center of Craniumin's shield mechanism, the part that still glowed with the grid. The grid flared once, bright, then it shattered like glass. Craniumin's armor flickered, not physically breaking, glitching. Craniumin's body stuttered, outline shifting in squares. The glow in its visor dimmed, then flared, then dimmed again. Craniumin tried to speak, but the voice that came out was warped. Darugamon shoved hard. Craniumin slammed into the far wall. The wall flashed with the grid, then buckled as cables snapped and sparks sprayed. Craniumin's body flickered again. Then it vanished, not disintegrated into blood, deleted. The room fell quiet except for the hiss of sparks and Harry's rough breathing. Darugamon stood in the center of the wreckage, chest heaving, claws flexing. Renamon stepped back, eyes still sharp, but her posture eased. Sayo stared at the spot where Craniumin had been, face tight with shock. Harry forced himself to stand fully. Pain flared through his chest and ribs. His legs shook. He swallowed hard and kept moving anyway. Darugamon turned its head toward Harry. The bond hit Harry's mind like a new channel opening. Not words, not perfect translation, but intent, heavy and clear. Alive. Harry nodded once, throat tight. Yes. Darugamon took one step toward him, then another, careful, like it did not want to crush him by accident. Harry lifted his hand slowly, palm out. Darugamon sniffed the air near his fingers, then huffed, almost irritated. Harry felt a flicker of emotion that might have been relief, buried under anger. Sayo's voice cut through, sharp. Move, she said in English. The whole building will have felt that. Harry did not argue. The alarms were still screaming. Footsteps were already pounding on the level above. Doors clanged as locks shifted. Renamon moved to the front. Sayo grabbed Harry's arm, pulling. Darugamon fell in at Harry's side, close enough to shield him if needed. They ran. They moved through the storage level, cutting between stacks, then through a service corridor that smelled like hot vents. Sayo led them to an emergency door, shoved it open, and they spilled out into an alley behind the station. The city air hit Harry like a slap. Static rain, smoke, noise. The sky above flickered. Symbols pulsed, brighter than before. Harry did not open the stone to read them. He did not need to. The city's sirens rose into a new pitch, more urgent, more violent. Darugamon lifted its head, ears angling. It growled low. Harry followed its gaze. On the horizon, deeper in the city, a darkness moved that was not a shadow. A smear in the air, like a tear trying to open. Harry's stomach turned cold. Sayo looked too, face tightening. She spoke in her own language, but her tone was different now. Not teasing, not control, fear. Harry forced the stone open for 1 second. Pain stabbed behind his eyes, but the meaning landed clean. Eaters are coming. The breach is widening. It reacts to your magic. Harry's breath caught. He looked down at his wand in his hand, then up at the dark smear in the distance. He had wanted diplomacy. He had gotten a royal knight trying to delete him, and now the city was about to fill with something that ate minds. Sayo's hand tightened on his arm. Her voice went low. This is your mess, she said. Not cruel, just factual. So tell me what you know about the veil, and tell me how we close it. Harry swallowed hard, chest burning, body shaking, and forced himself to keep walking as the sky pulsed brighter above them. I know where the breach started, he said, and I know exactly what it feels like when it opens. Darugamon growled again, deeper. The dark smear on the horizon widened by a fraction, and the air around it looked like it was losing signal. Harry's throat went tight. And if we do not get there first, he said, voice rough, Everyone in this city is going to end up empty-eyed. Harry hit the corner hard enough that his shoulder screamed, and the damp air slapped him in the face like cold hands. The tunnel tilted down, not in a normal slope, but in that ugly way the digital world did things when it wanted to mess with you. The ground looked like metal, felt like wet stone, and sounded like hollow plastic when his boots skidded. Behind them, something moved through the dark with a lazy, hungry rhythm. Not the clean stomp of soldiers. Not the click of machine feet. A soft, wet glitch sound, like someone chewing static. "Keep up," Sayo snapped, already ahead, her coat sticking to her back from the humidity. She did not look back. She did not slow down for him. "If you fall behind, you are dead." Harry forced breath into his lungs. Tasted like old pennies and rain. "I got it," he said, which was a lie. His ribs were still tender from craniumin slamming him into that bright white wall. Every inhale scraped. He kept his wand up anyway, because putting it down felt like dying. Darugamon's claws scraped beside him. The big Digimon moved in a crouch that did not match his size, shoulders low, head angled as if expecting a blade from above. He was bleeding in flickers, not red, but bright fragments that cracked off his armor plates like glass. Renamon stayed at the back, quiet as ever, ears twitching, eyes scanning the tunnel like she was counting exits. Sayo cut left at a split that should not have existed. The corridor doubled on itself, like the place forgot its own layout. Harry stared at the wall as they passed. Something was embedded in it, half melted. A sign, maybe. Letters that looked like they had been chewed. He tried to read it and his head throbbed, like his brain did not want the information. "Stop looking," Sayo said, sharp. "It looks back." Harry opened his mouth with a retort, then shut it. He did not have the energy to argue with someone who sounded like she lived in nightmares for fun. They dropped into a narrower passage where the ceiling lowered. Water ran down in thin strings, cold and persistent, and every drop hit the ground without splashing. It just vanished, as if the floor ate it. Darugamon's breath was louder now. Not tired loud. Wrong loud. Like he was trying to swallow pain and failing. Harry shifted closer, keeping Darugamon on his right. "You all right?" Darugamon's head jerked toward him. Yellow eyes narrowed, then wider. His jaw clenched. "I fight," Darugamon said, rough. The translator effect in Harry's skull turned it into words, but the tone was pure animal stubbornness. "No talk. That was not what I asked." Darugamon's tail twitched. His claws flexed, leaving small cuts in the ground that sealed over a second later. Sayo slowed at last, raising a hand. They reached an open node, like a broken room where the tunnel widened and the walls were lined with dead server towers. A shallow pool covered the floor, ankle deep, black as ink. The air was colder here, not just temperature cold, emotional cold, the kind that made Harry's skin crawl. Sayo moved to the center, crouched, and pressed her palm to the water. It rippled in a slow circle. Renamon stepped beside her, still and ready. Harry stopped near the entrance, back to the wall, wand tracking the corridor behind them. Darugamon took the other side, blocking half the room with his body like a guard dog that had decided it was the door. "Talk," Harry said, because his patience was thin and his fear was sharper than he wanted to admit. "Now." Sayo looked up. Her eyes were dark in this light. She wiped water off her fingers, and it left a smear that glittered like oil. "The breach is not random," she said. "It is anchored." Harry swallowed. "Anchored to what?" Sayo's mouth twitched, like she almost smiled, then did not. "To the dark ocean." Harry felt his stomach drop. The words landed like a curse. He had not seen it yet, but he knew the shape of it anyway. The veil, the cold stone arch, the whispering behind it, the way Sirius had fallen through and never come back. "Funny," Harry said, voice flat. "I hate oceans." "This is not an ocean," Sayo said. "This is where deleted things go when the system cannot fully erase them. Leftover emotion, leftover hunger, leftover pain." Harry's grip tightened on his wand until his knuckles hurt. Renamon's tail swayed once, slow. "It remembers," she said, voice quiet. "It pulls." Darugamon made a low sound in his throat, like agreement, like warning. Sayo stood, water dripping from her sleeve. Your magic is leaking into it. Your arrival punctured the veil line. The dark ocean got a taste of something it should not have. Now the eaters are changing. Harry stared at her. Changing how? Sayo's gaze flicked to the walls, like she expected something to answer. They are not just consuming minds anymore. They are learning. They are taking memories and using them. Harry's skin went colder. That is not possible, he said automatically, because his brain wanted denial like it wanted oxygen. Sayo tilted her head. You keep saying that. Harry exhaled through his nose, short. In my world, there are dementors. They feed on happiness. They leave you empty. What you are describing sounds like a dementor with hands. Reneman's ears dipped. Close. Darugamon's claws clicked in the water. Sayo stepped closer, and for the first time, her voice lowered. Not softer, just less sharp. The difference is, dementors take what you feel. Eaters take what you are. Harry's throat tightened. He hated that she was good at this. He hated that she said it like she had watched it happen. He forced himself to move, to break the stillness. So what is the plan? Because you dragged us down here for a reason. Sayo's eyes flicked to Darugamon. We find the anchor point. We seal it. Or we die trying. Harry laughed once, dry. Brilliant. Clear. Love the optimism. Sayo did not smile. There is more. Harry waited. Sayo looked away, jaw tight. The leak does not feel natural. It feels engineered. Harry's stomach turned. You mean someone is doing it on purpose? Sayo nodded. Someone from your world is drilling. They are pushing a probe through the breach and pulling energy back. Harry's brain stalled, then caught up with a sick snap. No, he said. No, that is insane. Sayo's eyes cut back to him. You think your ministry would not? Harry froze. He thought of the men in the Department of Mysteries. The polite smiles. The way they spoke about people like they were problems to solve. The way they had shoved him toward the veil with fear in their eyes, not guilt. His mouth tasted like metal again. They did, he said quietly. Sayo watched him like she was gauging whether he would break. Harry forced a breath. Where? Sayo pointed into the dark passage ahead. Down. Past the under-internet seam. Past the place where the geometry starts lying. There is a border zone. Witchelney residue. Old code that looks like magic. Harry's skin prickled at the name. It sounded like something a Hogwarts portrait would whisper about and then refuse to explain. Darugamon's head lifted. His nostrils flared like he could smell it. Reneman's fingers flexed, claws sliding out, then in. Harry nodded once. Then we go. Sayo moved first. They left the broken node behind, stepping deeper into the tunnel that felt like it was swallowing sound. The water got colder. The air got heavier. Even Harry's footsteps sounded wrong, like the world delayed the echo on purpose. After a while, the corridor widened again, but the walls stopped being walls. They became shapes, angles that did not connect properly, corners that turned into slopes, a ceiling that looked too far away, then too close, then too far again like a bad dream. Harry kept his eyes forward because every time he looked to the side, his head throbbed and his stomach lurched. Sayo walked like she had done this before. Renamon stayed near her shoulder. Darugamon stayed near Harry. Harry tried to keep track of time. Felt pointless. The digital world did not respect clocks. A sound drifted from ahead. Soft at first, then clearer. A voice. Harry stopped so hard his boot splashed the black water. His whole body went rigid. It was his own voice, but younger. Angry. Shaking. I am not a weapon. Harry's throat went tight. Darugamon's head snapped toward the sound, teeth bared. Sayo's hand lifted again. Do not answer, she warned. The voice continued, clearer now, like it was coming from the walls. You do not get to decide what I am. Harry's stomach twisted. That was him. That was him in the Department of Mysteries, shouting at an unspeakable who smiled like a knife. He had not thought about that moment in months. His brain had filed it away under Do Not Touch. The tunnel ahead shimmered, like heat haze. The air thickened. The smell changed. Salt. Real salt, sharp and ugly. Renamon whispered. We are close. Harry swallowed hard. The water underfoot deepened, up to his shins now, and it clung to him like it wanted to pull him down. His trousers stuck to his legs. Cold crept into his bones. Digimon made a low noise, strained. Harry glanced at him and saw it. Finally, Digimon's armor plates were trembling. Tiny fractures crawled across them, glowing faintly, then sealing, then cracking again. His breathing hitched like he was trying not to show it. "You are in pain," Harry said. Digimon's eyes flashed. "No, that was not a question." Digimon's jaw tightened. He took another step, and his right foreleg buckled for a second before he caught himself. Sayo did not turn around. "It is the radiation," she said, like she had been waiting for them to notice. "Your magic is saturating the seam. His X-antibody is reacting." Harry's hand tightened on his wand. "Reacting how?" Sayo's voice went colder. "Accelerating. Forcing evolution. Forcing decay. If he loses control, he will not become stronger. He will become a corpse that moves." Digimon snarled, but it came out as a broken sound. He hated hearing it. He hated being seen. Harry felt something ugly twist in his chest. "Hey!" Harry said, low, stepping closer to Digimon's head. "Listen to me. You do not get to die on me. Not here." Digimon's eyes flicked to him, sharp and wounded. "You command." Harry shook his head once. "I beg." "There is a difference." Digimon's nostrils flared. For a second, he looked like he did not know what to do with that. Then the tunnel ahead opened. The dark ocean was not a normal place. It was not even a place that made sense. It was a stretch of water under a sky that was not a sky, more like a ceiling made of bruised clouds and static. The shoreline was jagged, broken metal and smooth stone at the same time. Waves rolled in slow motion, and every crest looked like it was made of black glass. The water did not reflect light. It absorbed it. Harry's whole body went tense. His scars did not hurt, but his nerves screamed anyway. Sayo stopped at the edge, boots half submerged. She stared out like she was measuring distance, or courage. Renamon stood beside her, tail low. Digimon's claws clicked on the stone. His breath fogged, even though the air did not feel cold enough for it. Something about the ocean made the temperature lie. Harry stepped up behind them, wand raised. The smell hit him harder now. Salt, rust, and something else. Old fear. A wave slid in and touched his boot, and for a second his vision blurred. Not like dizziness, like a memory trying to overwrite reality. Harry blinked hard. The shoreline shifted in his peripheral vision. For a heartbeat it was not metal and stone. It was the stone floor of the Department of Mysteries. The veil arch stood ahead, black and whispering. Sirius was there, halfway through it, turning his head, smiling like it was all a joke. Harry's stomach dropped. "Harry!" He heard his name clear as day. His feet moved before his brain did. One step forward like he could just reach out and grab him this time. Digimon slammed into him. Not with teeth, not with claws. With his shoulder, hard enough that Harry stumbled back, water splashing up his legs. Harry gasped, startled, furious. "What the hell?" Digimon's eyes were wild. "Not real," he growled. "Not real. Ocean lies." Harry's heart hammered. His hands shook on his wand. He stared at the water again, and the Department of Mysteries flickered away, leaving only black waves. He swallowed hard. Sayo looked over her shoulder, and for the first time, her face had something close to sympathy on it. It was small. It was there anyway. "Do not let it pull you," she said. "It wants your grief. It wants your guilt." Harry forced out a breath, shaky. "It can have my resignation letter." Sayo huffed once, almost amused, then turned back to the ocean. Renamon's voice was low. "It is listening." Harry hated that. Sayo crouched and scooped water in her hand. The black liquid slid between her fingers, then vanished before it hit the ground. "We cross," she said. "The drill is out there. The anchor point is out there." Harry stared. "How do you cross an ocean that eats light?" Sayo stood and glanced back at him, eyes hard again. "By not being soft." Harry's mouth twitched. "Right. Forgot. Your whole brand is suffering." Sayo's eyes narrowed. Potter, Harry held up his free hand. Fine. No jokes. He did not mean it. Jokes were the only thing keeping him from screaming. They stepped in. The water rose to Harry's knees almost immediately. It was heavier than water should be, like it had weight beyond physics. Every step dragged. The sound changed too. Waves did not crash. They whispered. Not words, but almost words, like something trying to imitate speech without understanding it. Digimon moved closer, body shielding Harry from the open water like he could block an ocean with his back. Renamon stayed near Sayo, eyes scanning the surface for movement. Harry kept his wand up, but it felt useless here, like pointing a stick at an entire mood. A ripple moved to their left. Harry's wand snapped that way. Stop! The ripple split, then rose. An eater surfaced like a nightmare crawling out of a drain. White noise data, jagged and wrong, shaped like a mass of limbs that could not decide what they were. It did not have eyes, but it looked at them anyway. And then it spoke. Not in a digital hiss. Not in that static garble. In a voice Harry had not heard in years. Harry, it was his mother. The word hit him like a punch to the throat. Harry froze. His wand lowered a fraction. Harry, please, the eater said, and Lily Potter's voice was so perfect it made him sick. Come here. I can see you. I can touch you. His stomach lurched. His eyes burned. Digimon snarled, stepping forward, but his legs trembled under him. Pain flashed across his face, quick, then buried. Sayo's voice cut in sharp. Do not listen. Harry's throat tightened. He could not breathe right. The ocean pressed on him from all sides, heavy and cold. The eater moved closer, water parting around it like the ocean wanted it to pass. Harry, Lily's voice said again, softer. You were so little. You were crying. I could not reach you. Harry's hands shook. His vision blurred. He did not want this. He did not want it. But his feet shifted anyway, one step like a stupid reflex. Digimon's jaw snapped, teeth catching the sleeve of Harry's coat. Not biting skin, just grabbing cloth, yanking him back hard enough that Harry stumbled. Harry gasped, pain flaring in his ribs. The eater's voice changed instantly, like it got bored of pretending to be kind. You let them die. It hissed, Lily's voice twisting into something ugly. You let him fall. You let your godfather die. You watched. Harry's face went cold. His wand shot up again, anger snapping through him like electricity. Expecto Patronum, Harry said. Light burst from his wand, bright enough to hurt. It was not the clean silver glow he remembered from his world. Came out a sharp white code, lines and symbols that swarmed into the shape of a stag. The stag landed in the water without sinking, hooves striking and sending shockwaves across the ocean surface. The eater shrieked. The sound was wrong, like a file tearing. It recoiled, limbs jerking, white noise breaking apart under the light. For a second, Harry felt relief.